Chapter 41. Setting Goals. In the core area of the Chu family's ancestral residence, a few elders who were in seclusion were suddenly miraculously enlightened. Their spiritual will and spiritual power, which had fused into the void, suddenly began to condense. Their spiritual power also rapidly began to fuse with their spiritual will. It was as if they had been blessed by a mysterious existence. In an instant, they all broke through to the unity realm. The family elders widened their eyes in shock. How did they break through all of a sudden? Moreover, during the breakthrough, their auras had not been exposed. Although they did not understand what was going on, the clan elders were pleasantly surprised. As long as their auras were not exposed, they could continue to stay hidden in the Chu family. These elders were the trump cards of the Chu family. If ever the family was faced with a dire crisis, they would forcefully break through to the unity realm and strive to resolve the crisis. However, they had now broken through with nary a sound. Moreover, their auras had not been exposed in the process. This meant that they could continue their secret cultivation and become even stronger. When they were called upon in the future, they would give their enemies a huge surprise. Chu Zan was somewhat surprised. Those elders had broken through. They must have been affected by the power of his divine soul. The elders had been on the verge of breaking through this entire time. The power of his divine soul and domain had covered the Chu family's territory, and it seemed that just that little bit of power was enough to make the elders break through uncontrollably. The moment the elders broke through, Chu Zan discovered a precious artifact in the core area of the Chu family's ancestral residence. This artifact had been mysteriously activated, and seemed to be absorbing the auras of those elders. His curiosity was piqued, so he concentrated his divine soul power to take a closer look. It actually turned out to be a transmission-type precious artifact. It appeared to be absorbing the auras of these new Unity Realm experts and then transmitting them to a certain place. Interesting. The Chu family did not have a Unity Realm expert. It was likely that this expert had deliberately suppressed their breakthrough and had left once it was no longer possible to do so. Chu Zan was merely a direct descendant who did not possess any influence in the family. He would naturally never come into contact with such secrets. However, this did not bother him at all. Nothing mattered so long as it did not affect his seclusion in his courtyard. He condensed the power of his divine soul slightly and sealed the treasure's ability to collect aura. His strength continued to rise, advancing toward the second level of the Emperor Realm. You have broken through to the Emperor Realm. You have been rewarded with the Great Luo Heavenly Scripture, the Great Luo Divine Technique, and the Great Luo Immortal Scripture. After he broke through to the Emperor Realm, the system's reward soon followed. It was actually the enhanced version of the Great Luo Emperor Scripture. Once he received the rewards, the related information and knowledge flooded his mind. After mastering the cultivation methods recorded in the two Immortal Scriptures, Chu Zan sensed his foundation and strength solidifying even further. The two cultivation methods did not conflict with each other, but rather complemented each other very well. Rumble, second level of the Emperor Realm. After breaking through to the second level of the Emperor Realm, his 100 years' worth of cultivation reward was exhausted. Chu Zan opened his eyes and examined his own strength. At this moment, he was full of confidence. There was no emperor in the southern region, which meant that he was currently the only emperor in this vast region. Unless an Emperor Realm or above powerhouse came from outside the southern region, there was nothing and no one he had to fear in this land. Moreover, even if there was such a powerhouse, they had no reason to come to the Chu family's territory to cause trouble for him. Therefore, he no longer had to worry about the evil imperial court. He would kill every heretic that came. Moreover, given his Emperor Realm strength, he would be able to kill those intruders silently. He no longer had to worry about exposing his strength. Meow. The heavenly spirit cat jumped onto his shoulder and rubbed its head against his. Little cat, hurry up and break through. The cat was already at the 9th level of the Unity Realm, and was on the verge of breaking through to the Truth Realm. With its talent, it would not be long before it too broke through to the Emperor Realm. Moreover, as Chu Zan's cultivation increased, the growth of his pets would also accelerate. The sky-shaking golden rock flew over, and the spirit-devouring flower stretched out a branch that held a blooming flower. It was exceptionally beautiful. It would not take long for the sky-shaking golden rock and the heavenly spirit cat to break through to the Emperor Realm. Once they did, it would be more convenient for him to do certain things. The spirit-devouring flower was a little bit more special. It would take a longer time for it to reach the Emperor Realm. That being said, Chu Zan was in possession of many treasures that could accelerate this process. I cannot lose sight of my goal of reaching the heaven realm. Chuzan warned himself not to let all this get to his head. The Emperor realm was not his final destination. Above the Emperor realm were the supreme and heaven realms. He would only gain a stable foothold in the vast world once he reached the heaven realm, as heaven realm cultivators were considered top existences in this vast world. I'll strive to break through to the supreme realm within 10 years. Chuzan set himself a small goal for the near future. After breaking through to the Emperor realm, his cultivation speed would slow down. However, breaking through to the supreme realm within 10 years should not pose too much of a problem. After all, the system would occasionally reward him with a few hundred years' worth of cultivation, and other items, spiritual medicines and tools that would increase his speed of cultivation. Moreover, he would soon make use of the lucky mystic realm. The laws of heaven and earth in the southern region were slowly being restored. Once this was discovered, it was unknown when the experts from other regions would come over and try to occupy this territory. Qin Qian, who was the reincarnation of a demon, had appeared. It could be predicted that the current balance in the southern region would see some drastic shifts in the future. However, there would probably not be too much chaos within the upcoming 10 years. He still had enough confidence that he would be able to break through to the supreme realm within 10 years. The supreme realm involved the transformation of the power of one's domain. As the saying went, I am supreme within this domain, and even the emperor has to kneel before me. Beyond that, the heaven realm represented another huge improvement, similar to the huge gap between the truth realm and the emperor realm. With that being said, supreme realm cultivators were also considered powerhouses in this vast world. Excellent, Chuzan lay down on the deck chair, feeling particularly happy. With every breakthrough he achieved, his confidence grew, and he became infinitely closer to his goal of living a comfortable and stress-free life. Looking around the small courtyard, Chuzan suddenly felt that he lacked servants to carry out chores around his residence. Or perhaps maids. Beautiful maids were pleasing to the eye. In that sense, they were much better than servants. Chuzan glanced at the lucky mystic realm in the system space and suddenly thought of something. Should he take it out and put it inside the courtyard for the time being? Those who could stumble upon the lucky mystic realm were people with great luck. If he put it in the courtyard, perhaps it would help him to attract some people with great luck. The men would be accepted as disciples, while the women would be accepted as maids. Chuzan's heart was stirred. He had to stay at home and could not leave the small courtyard. He wanted someone by his side to listen to his instructions and work for him. Unfortunately, Zhang Kui and Dong Qian were heretic cultivators, and were wanted throughout the southern region. If they appeared openly, they would be easily killed. Moreover, these two people were not very talented, so there was little value in nurturing them, they could be used as errand boys at best. Moreover, Chuzan also had some thoughts regarding the Black Moon Tower. It was a large force that had its roots spread throughout the southern region and beyond. It sold all kinds of intel, cultivation methods and treasures, and also accepted all kinds of commissions. Black Moon Tower operated in a wide scope of different businesses and areas. If he could control the Black Moon Tower, he would be completely aware of the goings-on and happenings around the southern region despite being confined to his small courtyard. Presently, he was already at the second level of the Emperor realm. He had to keep a low profile and infiltrate the organization slowly. With the soul seed seal at his disposal, he would be able to conceal his actions from the top experts of the Black Moon Tower. In addition, once he broke through to the Heaven realm, he would then deal with the mastermind behind the Black Moon Tower and become the biggest boss of the Black Moon Tower. All this required manpower. He needed people to handle various tasks and missions so that his plans would be able to reach fruition. Thinking this, Chuzan took out the Lucky Mystic Realm. Chapter 42. The Trend Among Heretic Cultivators. The Lucky Mystic Realm was a simple and unadorned small hall. Chuzan did not activate the Lucky Realm and simply placed it in a corner of the courtyard. Even if it was not activated, it would still be able to attract some lucky ones, right? Chuzan was filled with anticipation. You've remained in seclusion for a year and a day. You've been rewarded with a box of Emperor Realm pills. As expected, the day after he broke through, Chuzan received a box of Emperor Realm cultivation pills. Emperor Realm pills could either be used to break through to the Emperor Realm or used for Emperor Realm cultivation. The system's products were all top-notch. After breaking through to the Emperor Realm, Chuzan's life became more and more comfortable. There was no such thing as boredom. The daily increase in strength that he sensed was enough to keep him occupied, happy even. Chu Zan asked Zhang Kui to bring a portion of the Emperor Realm cultivation pills to Chu Yun. The former had already broken through to the Unity Realm. However, unless Chu Zan was willing to provide him with resources, he would remain at the Unity Realm for the rest of his life. In fact, it was unknown as to whether he could even break through to the third level of the Unity Realm. However, the value of nurturing him was not high, so Chu Zan opted not to waste the resources. The Unity Realm was sufficient for him to help Chu Zan run errands for the time being. Chu Yun's talent for pill refining exceeded Chu Zan's expectations. It had only been such a short period of time, but Chu Yun had already started refining spirit pills. The failure rate was a little high, but this had to do more with her inexperience than her lack of skill. Chu Yun had already broken through to the 6th level of the Profound Realm, and this was all thanks to the pills she had refined herself. Chu Zan passed a few portions of spirit pills and another pill refinement technique to Chu Yun through Zhang Kui. Moreover, he asked Zhang Kui to provide her with the spiritual herbs needed for pill refinement. After all, he was the first vice-sect leader of the heretic cult, so he did not lack resources. Given that sect master Lu Wang had yet to recover from his serious injuries, Zhang Kui had complete control of the heretic cult in the Qin kingdom. In addition, after breaking through to the Unity Realm, he had become the strongest person in the cult. Chu Zan learned from Zhang Kui that all the heretic cultists who had broken through to the Unity Realm had to go to the evil imperial court to serve. Without the evil imperial court's express permission, they were not allowed to leave. The purpose behind this was to gather strong people to deal with any threats and crises. Chu Zan opted to seal off Zhang Kui's Unity Realm aura. Moreover, with the concealing talisman, no one would be able to locate him unless he went to the evil imperial court voluntarily. After breaking through to the Emperor Realm, Chu Zan no longer regarded the evil imperial court as a threat. Thus Chu Yun obtained new alchemy skills and more alchemy resources. She even used a few high-quality spirit pills and herbs as study and research materials. She became more and more convinced that she had caught the eye of some senior expert out there. That expert was probably testing her now. She was very happy and devoted herself to learning how to refine spirit pills. In the Evil King's palace, it had been a month since Kun Wu had barged into the Evil King's palace. Incensed by this, the Evil King had sent people to investigate whether Kun Wu's motive for barging into the Evil King's palace had been instigated by someone. It was not impossible for someone to have used a borrowed knife to slap his face and ruin his reputation. However, after a month of investigation, they did not manage to find any trace of an instigator behind Kun Wu's actions. All the signs indicated that Kun Wu had suddenly gone crazy, to the point that he actually decided to barge into the Evil King Palace. The final conclusion they arrived at was that Kun Wu's life was approaching its end, which caused him to go crazy. In a fit of madness, he had decided to become famous, and thus barged into the Evil King's palace. Kun Wu was indeed famous. Not only did every heretic cultivator know his name, but he also became famous among the other major forces in the southern region. After all, the evil imperial court had always been known as the holy land of heretic cultivators, which could not be provoked. Kun Wu's reckless and daring actions before his death had made him a household name. The collapsed buildings and palace gates of the Evil King's palace had been rebuilt, and the guards had been replaced. As usual, 2 Void Realm guards were standing guard. No one would think that there would be a second Kun Wu who dared to challenge the evil imperial court. After all, very few people were unafraid of death. The guards were not especially vigilant, not caring if anyone walked past the Evil King's palace. It was a pretty normal occurrence for people to walk past the palace gates anyway. Countless heretic cultivators would come and take a look at the holy land of heretic cultivators every day. An old man with a cane slowly walked toward the Evil King's palace. The guards took a brief glance at him before looking away. Clearly they did not care. The old man came up to the palace gates and attacked without warning. Boom! The palace gates collapsed. Caught unaware, the guards did not even have the time to defend themselves before dying. The strength of a peak Void Realm expert was clearly displayed for the crowd to see. After the old man destroyed the palace gates, he charged into the Evil King's palace. At the same time, a roar that shocked countless heretic cultivators resounded. I, Fan Kai, will enter the holy land of heretic cultivators today and experience the wonders of the Evil King's palace personally. The heretic cultivators were dumbfounded. This was crazy. I, Fan Kai, am the second heretic cultivator to barge into the Evil King's palace in thousands of years. I can die without regrets. Ha ha ha. Fan Kai rushed into the Evil King's palace. B-starred. A Unity Realm expert attacked him. However, ever since Kun Wu killed a few Unity Realm guards with the lightning bombs, these guards were hesitant to attack and were instead ready to escape at any time. They were just stalling for time and waiting for the Truth Realm experts to arrive. Thanks to this, Fan Kai advanced courageously and even destroyed several buildings along the way. Die! A Truth Realm expert finally made his move. Ha ha ha, if a heretic cultivator doesn't even dare to break into the evil king's palace, what kind of heretic cultivator is he? Can such heretic cultivators still call themselves proud and rebellious? I, Fan Kai, have always respected Brother Kun Wu's courage. Fan Kai laughed loudly and charged straight at the Truth Realm Master. Boom! He self-detonated without giving the other party a chance to capture him. The crowd of heretic cultivators fell silent. Among them, many old and dying heretic cultivators became restless, their eyes suddenly ablaze with youth and hot-blooded vitality once more. The evil king was furious. He was the only evil king who had been disrespected like this time and time again. Soon enough, after Fan Kai, others came to the evil king's palace. The collapsed palace gates and buildings had not even been repaired yet, but these people who did not have much time left came anyway. 3 old heretic cultivators rushed toward the evil king's palace. As 3 friends from Ghost Mountain have also come to see the evil king's palace today. We have no regrets even if we die. Haha, it's said that the evil king's palace is a holy land for heretic cultivators and is also home to the overlord of heretic cultivators. Today, as 3 friends from Ghost Mountain have come to experience it. The heretic cultivators were in an uproar. It's the Ghost Mountain trio. Why are they trying to barge into the evil king's palace? Do they have a death wish? You don't know, right? The Ghost Mountain trio don't have much time left. There's no hope for them to break through. The heretic cultivators were talking among themselves. Among them, some of the old and dying heretic cultivators were full of excitement. The other heretic cultivators were terrified. Have these old fellows gone mad? Don't tell me they're going to barge into the evil king's palace as well. The Ghost Mountain trio were all 3rd level Void Realm martial artists. However, they had been stuck at the 3rd level for a long time and were unable to break through. The end of their lifespans was quickly approaching. Boom! The buildings around the evil king's palace collapsed, and smoke and dust billowed. The prestige of the evil king's palace, which had been challenged again and again, began to falter in the hearts of the heretic cultivators. They no longer regarded it with as much reverence as before. Many people followed behind the Ghost Mountain trio to watch the show. Ghost Mountain trio, how dare you? The guards of the evil king's palace were furious. Everyone was challenging the prestige of the evil king's palace nowadays. Did they think that the guards here were all trash? Die! A 9th level Unity Realm guard captain made his move. Boom! The Ghost Mountain trio self-destructed. The guard captain was caught off guard and was severely injured by the explosion. He was stunned. They self-destructed right away. They were crazy. Over the next half a month or so, heretic cultivators would come to barge into the evil king's palace from time to time. Barging into the evil king's palace had become a trend among the circle of heretic cultivators. It seemed that if one did not break into the evil king's palace, they would be too embarrassed to call themselves heretic cultivators. Chapter 43. Don't panic, slide under it. In the beginning, only heretic cultivators who were nearing the end of their lifespans came to challenge the evil king's palace. However, later on, even young and hot-blooded heretic cultivators decided to participate in the challenge. The prestige of the evil imperial court plummeted. Of course, no one who challenged the evil imperial court's prestige made it out alive. They all came with the intention of dying. Yet for some reason, friends of those who challenged the evil imperial court felt honored. Do you know who this lord is? Let me tell you, the one who barged into the evil king's palace the other day is my senior brother. Do you understand? The heretic cultivators were all proud to have a friend who had barged into the evil king's palace. They clearly felt that it was something worth bragging about. There were even people who encouraged their friends to barge into the evil king's palace. Soon, another person carried a large machete and headed toward the evil king's palace. A crowd of heretic cultivators gathered around to watch the show. My name is. Go to hell. Before he could even say his name, a furious roar came from the depths of the evil king's palace. A huge blood-red palm hurtled over and crushed the other party. The blood-red palm did not stop there. It slapped all of the heretic cultivators who looked like they might be about to try. Puff, puff. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 people were killed by the blood-red palm. Run! The heretic cultivators who were watching the show were shocked and fled in all directions. Was the evil king crazy? Die! Die! The blood-red palm killed the heretic cultivators one after the other. The evil king was so angry. One after another, these people all came to provoke him. This made him the most undignified and disrespected evil king in history. He was so angry that he made a move personally. He initially thought that if he acted personally, he would be able to instill fear and intimidate the heretic cultivators. Unfortunately, that was not the case at all. There were still people who were unafraid of death who came to the evil king's palace. I'm not afraid to tell you that the one who was personally killed by His Majesty the evil king was my brother. What? It was your brother? That's insane. Gradually, in the circle of heretic cultivators, it became the greatest honor and privilege for those who charged into the evil king's palace to be killed by the evil king himself. No one knew how or why this had come about. The evil king was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He even suspected that a new evil cultivation method had appeared, and that the method caused problems in the brains of those who cultivated it. Otherwise, how could there be so many madmen? Kun Wu. The evil king gnashed his teeth. The source of all this was caused by that little heretic cultivator called Kun Wu. You stayed in seclusion, yet with a single order, you created a trend among the heretic cultivators. You've been rewarded with the myriad heavenly mirror. Chu Zan was depressed. The lucky mystic realm had been in the small courtyard for almost 2 months, but it had yet to attract anyone with great luck. Could it be that there were no people with great luck in the southern region? Although the lucky mystic realm had not been activated, it still had the ability to attract people with great luck. Was it because these people with great luck were too far away and needed a very long time to arrive? A reward from the system suddenly appeared out of the blue. Quote? He was momentarily stunned. A single order had caused a trend among the heretic cultivators. What trend did it cause? This matter definitely had something to do with Kun Wu. However, even he was not very clear as to what exactly Kun Wu had done. How did it cause a trend? This was the drawback of having no information. He did not even know that such a big thing had taken place in the southern region. He needed to think of a way to take control of the Black Moon Tower. He then examined the myriad heavenly mirror. The myriad heavenly mirror can randomly connect to 10,000 regions. It can also transfer items. Chu Zan was pleasantly surprised by this. The myriad heavenly mirror could randomly connect to various regions, and could also transfer items. However, for the time being, it could not transfer living things. It would only be able to do so when Chu Zan's strength rose to the heaven realm. This random connection ability could only be used 3 times a day. In addition to this, the myriad heavenly mirror could be used to mark 3 specific places or living beings. After marking, he would be able to check on those marks at any time. In the case of the mark of the myriad heavenly mirror being used on a living being, it would move in tandem with that living being. Chu Zan could not wait to activate the myriad heaven mirror. As he infused spiritual power into the artifact, ripples appeared on the surface of the myriad heavenly mirror. After some time, an image appeared. The first thing he saw were the high mountains and dense forest. He could hear the fierce beasts roaring. He did not know where the mirror had connected to, but as the image formed, Chu Zan suddenly saw a figure. He focused the mirror on the figure and enlarged the image. Ma Kong fell to the ground, panting as if he was seriously injured. Ma Kong, how are you? A black-clothed young man next to him was panting, and his body was covered in wounds as well. He crouched down to check on Ma Kong's injuries. From the looks of it, they had just experienced a battle. Poochie. Suddenly, a cold gleam flashed and a saber was stabbed into the black-clothed youth's chest. You. The black-clothed youth's eyes widened as he looked at Ma Kong in disbelief. Why, he had never thought that his companion would attack him out of nowhere. He was on the verge of death. He wanted to fight back, but he had just experienced a great battle and had used up almost all of his spiritual power. Ma Kong's saber had even severed his meridians. Darkness descended, and his consciousness gradually blurred. Why? Ma Kong replied with a malevolent expression, of course it's so I can have the treasure to myself. I'm sorry, brother, your talent is better than mine, but I'll be the one who laughs last. With a twist of the blade, the black-clothed youth's life ended. He reached out and took the black-clothed youth's storage bag. After opening it, he put it away happily and turned around to leave. Roar! Suddenly, a roar resounded. Trees collapsed, the earth shook, and a powerful aura crashed over him like a tidal wave. Ma Kong's expression changed greatly. Not good, it's the heavenly fiend tiger. He crawled to his feet and fled, but he did not make it far before a huge black tiger appeared behind him. Ma Kong's face was deathly pale. His face was full of despair. He was only at the 9th level of the profound realm, and the heavenly fiend tiger had reached the 7th level of the void realm, or perhaps even higher. Suddenly, he saw a mysterious halo materialize in the sky. Through the halo, he saw a small courtyard. In the small courtyard sat a figure bathed in divine light. He looked like a saint. "Senior, save me." Plop. Ma Kong knelt down and said. Chuzan did not expect that he would encounter a backstabbing brother the first time he used the myriad heavenly mirror, who killed his own companion for the sake of snatching treasure. He activated the 7-colored divine light and bathed himself in it like a deity. "Don't panic. I'll teach you a method that will allow you to cross realms and easily kill that heavenly fiend tiger." Ma Kong was overjoyed. "Thank you, senior. Quickly teach me the method." Chuzan's face could not be seen in the divine light. His voice had the demeanor of a peerless expert. "When the tiger pounces on you, hold the saber with both hands and slide under its belly. Raise the saber and stab it into its belly, cutting it open. Remember, the belly of every demon beast is one of their greatest weaknesses." Ma Kong was momentarily dazed. He turned around and looked at the approaching heavenly fiend tiger. Wiping his cold sweat, he asked in a trembling voice, "Senior, will this work?" "Don't worry, there won't be any issues. It won't expect you to slide under its belly out of nowhere. As the saying goes, if you catch it off guard, you will be able to kill it in one fell swoop." Chuzan encouraged him. "With me watching over you, how could anything go wrong?" Hearing this, Ma Kong calmed down and thought to himself, "Senior is testing me. Yes, it has to be so." Holding the saber with both hands, he turned around and looked at the heavenly fiend tiger with a determined gaze. Instead of retreating, he advanced. Chapter 44. 9 Zones and 50 Regions. Roar. The heavenly fiend tiger saw that Ma Kong did not retreat, but instead advanced toward it. It was instantly enraged. This was equivalent to provoking the tiger's pride. It rushed over. Ma Kong's heart pounded violently. The hands holding the saber trembled slightly, and his legs also shook with fear. "Calm down, don't panic. With senior watching over me, there won't be a problem. Ma Kong, this is your opportunity. You must not disappoint senior." His gaze turned firm. The hands holding the saber stopped trembling, and his legs stopped shaking. The charging heavenly fiend tiger charging was almost right in front of him. "Die!" he roared loudly. With both hands holding the saber, he suddenly slid toward the heavenly fiend tiger. Pa! A claw hit his body as he was trying to slide under the tiger, and he was sent spinning backwards. The sound of many bones breaking could be heard from his body, which was followed by a sharp pain. His vision started turning black, and he almost fainted. A mouthful of fresh blood spurted out. Bang! He fell heavily to the ground. Ma Kong spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood and struggled to sit up. Looking at the approaching heavenly fiend tiger, his face turned pale. "Senior, save me, please save me," he roared in his heart. "To hell with the slide." Sigh. Chuzan sighed in disappointment and said, "You have disappointed me greatly. The hands holding the saber were not steady, the speed of the slide was not fast enough, and your timing was totally off. Senior, I know I failed. Please save me," Ma Kong cried and begged. "It's too late." Chuzan shook his head and said, "I'm thousands of miles away from you. It'll take some time for my power to reach you." Ma Kong's heart sank. "But don't panic. I'll teach you another method. It'll definitely save your life." "What method? Senior, quickly teach me." Although Ma Kong felt that this senior's method did not seem to be very reliable, at this moment, it was his only hope. "Kneel down to the heavenly fiend tiger. Kowtow and call him father. As the saying goes, a tiger won't eat its child. Since you've already called it father, how could it bear to eat you?" Chuzan said seriously. Ma Kong was stunned. What kind of method was this? Was it really effective? Since ancient times, the strong have all suffered humiliation when they were weak. There was once a peerless expert who was utterly humiliated when he was weak, so don't feel too bad about this. This is your only chance to live. This venerable self understands tiger demon beasts very well. A tiger won't eat its own son. It's definitely not a lie. At this point, Ma Kong had no other choice but to believe. Seeing that the heavenly fiend tiger was already in front of him, he immediately knelt down with a plop. Tears streamed down his face as he roared, "Father, father, I'm your son." The heavenly fiend tiger, which had raised one of its claws, stopped in its tracks. Its tiger eyes widened. When Ma Kong saw this, he was delighted. Senior did not lie to me. As expected, a tiger would not eat its own son. Father, I am your son. My name is Ma Hu. The heavenly fiend tiger's intelligence would not be too low, right? He had already called it father, so it should let him off, right? When Ma Kong saw the heavenly fiend tiger put down its raised claw, he heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. So calling it father was actually useful. The heavenly fiend tiger slowly turned around, behaving as if it was planning to leave. Ma Kong was so excited that tears kept flowing down his face. He had finally survived. Father, take care, father. This child respectfully sends father off. The heavenly fiend tiger's body trembled for a moment. It was utterly disgusted with Ma Kong. With its back facing Ma Kong, the tiger's tail curled up. Pa! The tail fiercely swung down and slapped Ma Kong's head. Instantly, Ma Kong's head was split open. Woo, woo, senior. Ma Kong was stunned. I already called you father. Why are you still killing me? Senior is unreliable. Pa! The heavenly fiend tiger raised its hind legs and continuously stepped on Ma Kong's corpse. Roar! It raised its head and roared loudly, but, halfway through its roar was stuck in its throat. It widened its eyes and looked at the circle of light above its head. A person bathed in divine light was sitting inside the circle of light. Gulp! The heavenly fiend tiger instantly became as timid as a cat. It lay on the ground and its limbs slowly wriggled its body, trying to crawl away quietly. Where are you? A voice spoke from inside the circle of light. The heavenly fiend tiger roared and sent out its spiritual will. The northern region. Chu Zan was surprised. The place he had been connected to this time was actually the northern region. Feeling the strain of the spiritual power consumption, he immediately cut off the spiritual power input, after which the image displayed on the myriad heavenly mirror faded away. Activating the myriad heavenly mirror consumes a lot of spiritual power. Those below the Emperor realm won't be able to activate the myriad heavenly mirror at all. Even those at the Emperor realm can't use it for too long. Chu Zan put away the myriad heavenly mirror and swallowed an Emperor spirit pill, silently recovering his spiritual power. After recovering his spiritual power, Chu Zan once again infused his spiritual power into the myriad heavenly mirror. The surface of the mirror rippled and, gradually, a new image appeared. Splash! The scene before him was filled with rolling waves, as if he had been connected to a certain part of the ocean. Moving the image around, he surveyed the area where the myriad heavenly mirror was connected to. All he saw was rolling waves. He did not even see a single fish. Chu Zan was disappointed. The second time activated the mirror, his luck had not been very good, and he had failed to find anything. He had actually wanted to connect with an expert to trick the latter. In any case, the other party would not be able to sense his strength. He was bathed in divine light, so it would be very confusing as well. From the outside, Chu Zan could easily be mistaken for an extremely powerful expert. 1/3 of his spiritual power had been consumed, but there were no living beings in the image. The only thing he saw were the rolling waves. On his third try, he actually connected to a place filled with gray air and a lifeless aura. Numerous grayish-brown ancient stone houses appeared before his eyes. He did not see any living beings here either. Chu Zan frowned slightly. There seemed to be something wrong with this place. With a flick of his finger, he threw a spirit herb over. The spirit herb landed in that place and, in the blink of an eye, it withered and turned gray-brown. He continued to move the image around. This place seems to be an enclosed space. Could it be a secret realm? It's lifeless, and kind of seems like a cemetery. An even larger stone house appeared in the image. The gray-brown stone house exuded an even denser aura of death. Moreover, the aura of death pulsated. It almost seemed like the stone house itself was breathing. Chu Zan enlarged the image projection and approached the door of the stone house. Suddenly, the door of the stone house opened. As the image projection entered the stone house, he spotted a figure sitting cross-legged in the lifeless stone house. That withered figure was wearing a gray-brown unknown robe. The aura of death was going in and out of his nostrils. His sunken eye sockets exuded a sparkling white light. Chu Zan was bathed in divine light. He looked like a deity as he stared at the unknown existence in the stone house. He was not flustered at all. After all, the other party had no way of sensing his actual strength. It was also impossible for the other party to attack him through the myriad heavenly mirror or find him through it. Who are you? The unknown existence in the stone house raised his head slightly. His gaze was fixed on Chu Zan. I was patrolling the myriad realms in the heavens and happened to pass by here. A dignified voice spoke from behind the divine light. The withered figure remained silent for a brief moment before asking in a puzzled voice, "Myriad realms in the heavens. You are unaware of the myriad realms in the heavens. I've never heard of it. I only know of the 9 zones and 50 regions." Chuzan's mind spun. The 9 zones and 50 regions should be referring to the division of this vast world. He did not know which of the 9 zones the southern region was located in. The 9 zones and 50 regions are just a desolate corner of the myriad realms. They're nothing, Chuzan said in a profound and unfathomable manner. He was just bluffing. He could brag as much as he wanted. Chapter 45. I'm actually a good-for-nothing. The withered figure's body trembled, and the sparkling white light in his eyes brightened up a little. He was obviously shocked by Chuzan's words. The 9 zones and 50 regions were actually just a remote corner of the myriad realms. How boundless were the fertile lands of the myriad realms. He did not doubt Chuzan's words. The person in front of him was bathed in divine light, and his demeanor was unfathomable. One look and he could tell that this person was an extremely terrifying expert. He could not even comprehend how the light ring managed to connect to this place. One had to know that even a heaven realm expert would not be able to connect to the place where he was at currently. The moment Chuzan opened his mouth, he had frightened the other party. He could sense that the withered figure was extremely powerful. Even though the withered figure was being corroded by the aura of death, he was still incomparably powerful, far surpassing the Emperor realm. The other party seemed to be trapped here. If he was unable to escape and was being continuously corroded by the aura of death, it was only a matter of time before he died. How do I reach the myriad realms of the heavens? The withered figure asked. Your strength is too weak. You don't have the qualifications to know. Chuzan replied directly. Impossible, the withered figure said in a deep voice. When I, Ren Chang, became trapped here, I was already at the peak of the heaven realm. In the 9 zones and 50 regions, I was also one of this land's foremost experts. How could I not have the qualifications to know? Chuzan was secretly shocked. Peak of the heaven realm. An expert at the peak of the heaven realm was trapped here. This place was really not simple. However, Chuzan was good at bluffing. If he managed to snag himself a servant at the peak of the heaven realm, it would be a momentous occasion. Given his current strength, there was only one way to plant a soul seal on Ren Chang. The latter had to be willing to accept his soul seal. Once the soul seal was planted, Ren Chang would not be able to resist even if the difference in strength between him and Chuzan was too great. This was also one of the strengths of the soul seal. Moreover, even if the soul seal was destroyed, Chuzan would not suffer a backlash. In order to fool a peak heaven realm expert, he naturally had to paint a fantastical picture that was grandiose enough to make the other party feel like a mere pawn despite their peak heaven realm strength. Peak heaven realm, Chuzan sneered and said, a frog at the bottom of a well. That peak heaven realm you speak of is equivalent to a mere king realm in the myriad realms of the heavens. Perhaps you don't understand what level the king realm is in the myriad realms of the heavens, so I'll broaden your horizons today. The king realm is equivalent to the unity realm in your realm. Let me ask you, do the Unity Realm juniors in your realm have the qualifications to participate in matters involving the fate of your realm? Ren Chang was stunned. Only equivalent to the Unity Realm? Then how powerful were the myriad realms? No wonder he said the 9 zones and 50 regions were but a remote corner of the myriad realms of the heavens. Ren Chang was momentarily unable to accept this new reality. Shock registered on his face. Chuzan laughed in his heart and then asked, how long did it take you to cultivate to this realm? When he said this, Ren Chang became confident and replied proudly, it only took me 10,000 years. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Your level of talent is too poor. I can't believe it took you 10,000 years. Chuzan shook his head and sighed. Do you know that in the myriad realms of the heavens, if you manage to cultivate to the king realm in 100 years, I mean your heaven realm, your talent is only considered ordinary. In the myriad realms of the heavens, only those who manage to cultivate to the heaven realm in 10 years can be considered as heaven's blessed. Ren Changhai's brain was buzzing. He said in disbelief, impossible. 10 years to reach the heaven realm. How is that possible? He had once been known as the famous Chang Celestial Master. He had cultivated to the heaven realm in 10,000 years and shocked countless people. He was known as one of the top heavens blessed in the 9 zones. In the end, he was just a good-for-nothing. He found it difficult to accept. Sigh, a frog at the bottom of a well will always be unaware of how big the world is. It's really pitiful. Chuzan sighed. Senior, what is your cultivation level? Ren Chang was silent for a long time before he asked bitterly. He had already believed Chuzan's words. The first step was successful. Chuzan remained silent for a long while before he said, "What good would it do if I told you? The difference between you and me is like the difference between the mortal realm and the heaven realm." Ren Chang took a deep breath. The aura of death surged into his mouth and he started choking. It took him a long time to recover. He was excited. Perhaps this was his opportunity. "Please save me, Senior," Chuzan said mysteriously. "This place is a bit special. Fortune and misfortune go hand in hand. If you can understand this mystery, you can break through your current bottleneck." If even Senior thought that this place was special, there had to be something extraordinary about it. Ren Chang smiled bitterly and said, "I've been trapped here for more than 100,000 years, yet I've been unable to comprehend a single thing. Instead, I've been eroded by the aura of death here. I'm afraid I'm not far from death. Since you're aware of the danger, why did you come here? Do you know where this place is?" "I know. Desolate Ancient Zone, Fallen God Cave," Ren Chang said dejectedly. Before he met Chuzan, even though he was trapped here, he had still been prideful. A place that could trap him, Ren Chang, could also trap any peak heaven realm expert in this vast world. Now, he was dejected. It turned out that he had only been staring at the sky from the bottom of a well. In front of a true heavens blessed, he was just trash. Chuzan memorized the name. The Fallen God Cave of the Ancient Desolate Zone, one of the 9 zones. He now knew one of the zones. Since we met by chance, then it's fate. This venerable self will give you some pointers. Chuzan said, "The aura of death is also not the aura of death. The aura of life can also be the aura of death. When faced with death, the cycle of life and death can be understood. If you can comprehend the great Tao, you'll be able to escape, and you can break through your bottleneck." Ren Chang started muttering to himself and fell into deep thought. He had been trapped here for 100,000 years, but had not been able to escape. He had never been able to comprehend what kind of opportunities the Fallen God Cave contained. Where were the opportunities? Countless experts who had explored the Fallen God Cave in the Ancient Desolate Zone had all died. Not a single one had survived. He had thought highly of himself. He wanted to be the first person to escape from this place. In the end, he ended up being trapped here with nothing to show for it. To face death and comprehend the cycle of life and death. Ren Chang muttered to himself. He felt that the guidance given by the senior was the key to breaking out of this place, and also the key to breaking through past the heaven realm. However, how could he comprehend and achieve this? He was being corroded by the aura of death, and would die soon if nothing changed. Would he be able to comprehend the cycle of life and death in time? "Senior," Chuzan interrupted him without waiting for him to continue, "comprehend it well. Don't seek an answer before you have comprehended it. Everyone's understanding of the great Tao is different. Young man, don't be impatient. You have already been trapped for 100,000 years. What's there to be impatient about? You probably won't have any issue surviving for another 1,000 years. What's the hurry?" "You're right, Senior," Ren Chang said respectfully. Yeah, what was the rush? Even if he was trash compared with the heavens blessed, in the 9 zones and 50 regions, he was still one of the foremost experts. He was not inferior to anyone here. If someone like him could not comprehend it, in their corner of this vast world, who could? "Thank you for your advice." Ren Chang began to ponder and comprehend the secrets held within this place. The next step was successful. Ren Chang now had to solve the problem of the corrosion of the death aura. If that threat was resolved, then Chuzan would not have any problems in accepting Ren Chang as a servant or an in-name disciple. A servant might be a little harder, but an in-name disciple would not be a problem. Most importantly, Ren Chang must not have rebellious thoughts when receiving the soul seal, otherwise, given his strength, Chuzan would not be able to successfully plant the soul seal. Chapter 46. Yin-Yang Combination Divine Seal. Study it well. I will continue to patrol the myriad realms. I hope that when I see you again, you will have already comprehended it, Chuzan said. Farewell, Senior, Ren Chang said respectfully. Chuzan affixed one of the marks of the myriad heavenly mirror on Ren Chang's body. When he realized that Ren Chang did not display a reaction to the mark, he heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed like the mark of the myriad heavenly mirror could not even be detected by a peak heaven realm cultivator. As expected of a system product, after cutting off the spiritual power infusion, the myriad heavenly mirror reached its daily usage limit. You have crossed realms to trick Ren Chang. You have been rewarded with the Yin-Yang Combination Divine Seal. The system reward soon followed. Chu Zan immediately examined the yin-yang combination divine seal. Gazing into the depths of the great Tao of yin and yang, comprehending the cycle of life and death, reversing the aura of death into the aura of life, transforming the aura of life into the aura of death. The yin-yang combination divine seal was a great technique that directly granted one insight into the great Tao of yin and yang. It could reverse the aura of death into the aura of life, and it could also transform the aura of life into the aura of death. If Ren Cheng cultivated this technique, not only would he be able to resolve the crisis he was facing, but he could also break through his cultivation bottleneck and even gain insight into the great Tao of yin and yang. Chu Zan immediately used the system to comprehend the yin-yang combination divine seal, and the related information rushed into his mind. After he comprehended it, he sighed. The great Tao of yin and yang was mysterious and unpredictable. Life and death were in constant flux. Once one succeeded in cultivating it, one's strength would be immeasurable, and it would not be easy for one to die. When he was tricking Ren Chang, he had already prepared a method to dissolve the aura of death. After staying in seclusion for so long, the system had rewarded him with many secret techniques, one of which was a secret technique to refine the aura of death for his own use. He had originally planned to impart this secret technique to Ren Chang, and then think of a way to make him accept the soul seal. Now that he had this yin-yang divine combination seal, it was not an exaggeration to say that it would be a simple task for him to recruit Ren Chang. The most important thing was to make the other party sincerely believe in Chu Zan without holding anything back, opening his mind to accept the soul seal without any resistance. Of course, this required a process and a reasonable excuse. As long as Chu Zan planted the soul seal, even if the other party discovered something wrong later, everything would be settled. Moreover, with the profundity of the soul seal, it was unlikely that Ren Chang would be able to find any clues. The myriad heavenly mirror had entered a dormant state. As it had reached its usage limit, Chu Xian would not be able to contact Ren Chang for the time being. He had to give the latter some time to comprehend and study the mysteries of that place anyway. Chu Zan began to cultivate the yin-yang divine combination seal. The vigorous vitality on his body suddenly turned lifeless, scaring the heavenly spirit cat. The sky-shaking golden rock and the spirit-devouring flower curiously gathered around him as well. The aura of death continued to spread, and Chu Zan seemed to have aged countless years. Suddenly, the aura of death reversed and turned into one that was full of vitality. The cycle of life and death. Death to life, and life to death. Chu Zan continued to wait for a person with great luck to come to his door and, at the same time, he used the myriad heavenly mirror to connect to various regions. Due to the fact that each connection was random, he failed to connect to any useful place for several days. He either connected to deserts or oceans. The myriad heavenly mirror also once connected to a deserted island, but there was nothing and no one there. It also connected to the territory of some demonic beasts, but they were only low-level demonic beasts there, the strongest one being equivalent to a void realm cultivator. As such, there was no benefit or significance in him establishing a connection with those demonic beasts. He was unsure as to how Ren Changhei's comprehension was proceeding, but suppressed the thought of prying and quietly waited for the right time to trick him again. In a certain cave in the Purple Moon Kingdom, Hu Quan was looking uneasy. Not long ago, he had been reprimanded by an emissary of the evil imperial court. His backer was very dissatisfied with his incompetence. His backer even threatened to remove him from the position of sect leader of the heretic cult in the Purple Moon Kingdom. Under normal circumstances, after the heretic cult suffered severe losses, the evil imperial court would allocate a certain amount of resources to rebuild the heretic cult and strengthen it. However, this time, there were no resources allocated to the Purple Moon Kingdom heretic cult. It was not that the evil imperial court did not want to allocate resources to rebuild the heretic cult, but rather that they did not trust his ability. If that was all, it would still have been fine. What really made Hu Quan really anxious was the trend that Kunwu had stirred up among the heretic cultivators. The evil king was livid and about to go mad. It was said that the evil king was already investigating everything about Kunwu. As such, Hu Quan was very worried that it would be traced back to him. Even if he was not the one who instigated Kunwu, the event had taken place during the period it happened to be during the period in which he had hired Kunwu, so, if that fact was discovered, he would have no choice but to explain himself. Given the evil king's rage, there was no way Hu Quan would be able to convince the other party of his innocence. He would likely be tortured in the hopes of discovering the true mastermind behind Kunwu's actions. Hu Quan was inwardly panicking. Even though he had met Kunwu secretly, and though it should be impossible for anyone to discover the relationship between them, in this world, there were mysterious methods to pry into the unknown. He had a feeling that he would not be able to hide it for long. His cultivation almost went berserk because of this. It was all the fault of the Chu family. Hu Quan's hatred toward the Chu family grew deeper and deeper, to the extent that he could no longer suppress it. He took out the blood spirit bead and examined it. Gritting his teeth, he made a decision. Wan Chong looked at the mission that the Black Moon Tower had just received. It had been commissioned by a force from the Purple Moon Kingdom. The sect leader of the Purple Moon Kingdom's heretic cult had spent a huge sum of money to commission the Black Moon Tower to investigate the defenses of the Chu family's territory, as well as provide him with a topographical map of the area. His intentions were very obvious. He wanted to familiarize himself with the Chu family's territory and launch a surprise attack on the Chu family. Wan Chong was very curious. Even the sect leader of the Qin Kingdom's heretic cult, Lu Wang, had not been willing to spend so much money to commission the Black Moon Tower to investigate the Chu family's territory. Why did Hu Quan spend so much money on this? What grudge did he have with the Chu family? The Black Moon Tower would accept any request as long as the other party paid the appropriate price. Since they accepted the request, they had to complete it. The reputation of the Black Moon Tower was its most important asset. Wan Chong immediately ordered the Black Moon Tower's intelligence personnel to investigate the situation of the Chu family's territory. To the Black Moon Tower, while the strength of the Chu family was not weak, it was not difficult for them to investigate Chu family's territory. If they could not even manage this, how could the Black Moon Tower have established itself in the southern region? Every intelligence personnel of the Black Moon Tower had gone through professional training. They might not be strong, but they were extremely skilled when it came to escaping, hiding, and concealing their auras. The equipment they possessed would make countless people envious. It went without saying that each one possessed a spatial escape bead. Aura and presence concealing artifacts, artifacts for detection, collection, disguise, and so on. This whole set of equipment and items was specially prepared by the Black Moon Tower for each of its intelligence personnel. With this set of equipment, it would not be too difficult for a Spirit Realm intelligence officer to sneak into the Chu family territory, scout the terrain, and identify its key defensive locations. After all, the Chu family was not in a high state of alert. The intelligence personnel of the Black Moon Tower rarely failed in their assignments, and were also divided into different levels. There were ordinary intelligence officers, elite intelligence officers, bronze, silver, gold, and so on. Intelligence officers above bronze level usually excelled at assassination and would thus accept assassination-type missions most of the time. Wan Chong himself was a bronze-level intelligence officer. In addition to the official intelligence personnel, the Black Moon Tower also groomed spies, informants and other personnel. The Black Moon Tower had been in operation for countless years and had developed a wide range of businesses. As such, its personnel training also reflected this. They had logistics personnel that would refine artifacts and pills, collect heavenly materials and earthly treasures, and so on. They also dabbled in the business of selling cultivation resources. Given the Black Moon Tower's diverse range of businesses, it needed a strong military force to secure its foothold and protect its interests. Therefore, there were also Black Moon Tower personnel who were in charge of guarding the Black Moon Tower and protecting the safety of its business interests. These personnel may not have been good at other things, but they were good at fighting. Chapter 47, Fishing. Chu Zan stopped infusing spiritual power into the myriad heavenly mirror. After a few days of attempting random connections, he finally got in touch with another expert. It was a Supreme Realm expert called Du Yuan from the Western region. Chu Zan had become addicted to masquerading as a senior expert. His regal demeanor stunned the other party. He affixed one of the myriad heavenly mirrors marks on Du Yuan's body so that he could locate the other party at any time. Through the conversation just now, Chu Zan found out that the southern region he belonged to was part of the northern zone of the 9 zones. Du Yuan was also located in the northern zone. He did not have a formidable background, and was currently a guardian of a family in the western region. This was because, when he was young, he had received assistance from the previous family head. As such, he was obligated to protect this family's well-being. Du Yuan was a talkative person, and he did not have the shrewdness or wiliness of a wizened old cultivator. Chu Zan's regal appearance made him view the interaction as a previous opportunity. He was very respectful to Chu Zan. There was still one myriad heavenly mirror mark left, and Chu Zan decided to use this mark carefully. Once all 3 marks were used up, If he wanted to mark a new target, he would have to retrieve one mark. Currently, Chu Zan had no intention of retrieving either one of the marks on Ren Chang or Du Yuan. Putting away the myriad heavenly mirror, Chu Zan turned to return to his room to sleep. Suddenly, he discovered that someone had infiltrated the Chu family's territory. It was not someone from the heretic cult. This person was only at the second level of the spirit realm, but he was equipped with concealing equipment as well as some sort of detection-type spiritual artifact. It was some pretty top-notch equipment. Even the Chu family would be hard-pressed to produce such a set of equipment. As such, there was no way this person was from the heretic cult. Chu Zan's eyes lit up. Could it be a spy from the Black Moon Tower? He was currently vexed about the fact that he did not have a capable attendant to subdue the Black Moon Tower on his behalf. Who knew that a spy from the Black Moon Tower would suddenly come knocking on his door? Was this spy here to investigate the Chu family's territory due to a commission? Was this commissioned by one of the leaders of the heretic cult? Chu Zan was puzzled. Was there something wrong with the heads of all these heretic cult leaders? Why did they keep coming after the Chu family? Was it because they had uncovered their spies and ruined their plans back then? Xiao Hu carefully investigated the Chu family's territory. Every time he carried out a mission, he was very cautious. Even though he possessed high-end concealment equipment, and the Chu family's defenses were slightly lax, he kept his guard up. His goal was to achieve the position of elite intelligence officer. Every elite intelligence officer received more than twice the salary of an ordinary intelligence officer, and the equipment they received was even better. They even enjoyed more cultivation resources. While carefully investigating, he was also prepared to instantly destroy his own equipment before activating the spatial escape bead to escape. The rigorous training of the Black Moon Tower meant that every intelligence officer was prepared to abandon and scuttle their own equipment at all times. They had to avoid revealing the identity of the Black Moon Tower at all costs. If necessary, they had to self-destruct as well. Xiao Hu was not worried about the Chu family catching him. By the time they discovered him, he would have already activated the spatial escape bead to escape. As he explored the surrounding terrain, he suddenly felt that the layout of the Chu family's territory was rather abnormal. A large tree was planted on a small mound. The guards looked like idiots as they stood on the branches and looked around. What was even more ridiculous was that they even dug a trench. The guards hid themselves in the trench to guard against external threats. As he walked around, a large mountain suddenly appeared in front of him. The moment he saw the large mountain, Xiao Hu was stunned. Since when did the Chu family's territory have a large mountain? Something was wrong. However, he could not figure out what exactly was wrong. Should he go around the mountain or climb it? After a moment of hesitation, Xiao Hu decided to climb the mountain. He was very curious as to why there was a mountain in the Chu family's territory. There was clearly no mountain visible from outside the territory. According to their intelligence, the Chu family's territory only spanned 12 li. This mountain alone covered more area than that. He inwardly thought that there was something wrong with the Chu family, but he could not detect anything unusual with his senses. What exactly was wrong? It seemed that he had lost his edge. Chu Zan drank his tea and watched as Xiao Hu squatted outside the courtyard, motionless like a rock. He smiled. How could a mere spirit realm cultivator detect an emperor realm cultivator's means? The other party believed that he was investigating the Chu family's territory, but, in actual fact, he was squatting outside Chu Zan's courtyard. In the eyes of anyone who saw him, he was not a person, but a rock. Even a truth realm expert would not be able to tell the difference. Chu Zan did not care about the purpose behind the Black Moon Tower's visit. He was now fishing for bigger fish. According to his understanding of the rules of the Black Moon Tower, since they had accepted the commission, they would definitely do their best to complete it. Otherwise, the tower's reputation would be damaged and their ability would be called into question. If one intelligence officer failed, they would send out even stronger intelligence officers. If he continued fishing like this, he would eventually catch a big fish that would satisfy him. There was no need to catch too big a fish for the time being. After all, the Black Moon Tower's waters ran deep. If he caught too big a fish, he was afraid that he would be dragged into the water. Slowly, step by step, he would lower the hook into the deep waters. One day, he would fish out the biggest fish. Chu Zan then patiently waited for the second fish to take the bait. 3 days passed. The intelligence officer did not return with the information. Wan Chong frowned. Did something happen? Was the Chu family feigning weakness on the outside? Did his officer need more time to investigate clearly? The Black Moon Tower's mission had to be completed as soon as possible. Only then would it display the Black Moon Tower's ability and strength. And as the Tower Master, the rate at which missions were completed would showcase the level of his ability, which directly correlated with his performance review and promotion chances. Therefore, Wan Chong gave Xiaohu the order to return. Regardless of whether the latter had completed the mission or not, after receiving the order, he had to return and report the progress. Another day passed. Xiaohu had yet to return. Something was wrong. Wan Chong frowned. Did the Chu family manage to capture Xiaohu? Although he was not an elite intelligence officer, he was still an old hand when it came to covert investigation missions like these. Wan Chong sent an elite intelligence officer to carry out the mission and also to investigate what had happened to Xiaohu. With an elite intelligence officer taking action, Wan Chong relaxed. No matter what, the Chu family would not be able to detect or capture an elite intelligence officer, even though this elite intelligence personnel had just been promoted. A day passed, but the elite intelligence personnel did not report back with any information. Wan Chong was not in a hurry. Given Xiaohu's incident, the Chu family would definitely have become cautious, so it was expected that his elite intelligence officer would need to spend a little more time to complete the mission. To Wan Chang's surprise, the client, the sect leader of the Purple Moon Kingdom's heretic cult, Hu Quan, actually came personally. We commissioned your Black Moon Tower quite a few days ago, and yet there is still no result. Hu Quan asked with a gloomy face. Sect leader Hu, don't worry. Our Black Moon Tower will handle this matter easily. Wan Chong said confidently, just wait for 2 or 3 days. Our investigation will definitely yield a result. The branches of the Black Moon Tower were everywhere. The client could commission it to any Black Moon Tower branch in any place. As long as it did not exceed the capabilities of that branch, the mission would be transferred to the branch of the Black Moon Tower in the place where the mission was commissioned. Only when the difficulty of the mission exceeded the capabilities of the branch would there be an intervention from a higher level. Therefore, the Black Moon Tower had always been known for its efficiency. Chapter 48. The first step to control the Black Moon Tower. The Black Moon Tower was famous for its efficiency, yet Hu Quan had waited for a few days without any results and therefore personally came to Chu County. Black Moon Tower has always been famous for its efficiency. Although the Chu family isn't weak, it shouldn't be difficult for the Black Moon Tower to investigate the layout of the family's territory, right? I hope Tower Lord Wan can complete the mission as soon as possible. 3 days. I'll wait another 3 days. If there's no result, I'll cancel the mission. Hu Quan said in a low voice. Don't worry, sect leader Hu. Our Black Moon Tower is famous for its efficiency and reliability in handling matters. You can rest assured. Wan Chong patted his chest and promised. Hu Quan left quietly. He did not dare to stay in the Black Moon Tower's premises. This group of black-hearted people might sell him out to the Chu family, or perhaps even the Purple Moon Kingdom. He was still worth some money. What if the Chu family, or the Purple Moon Kingdom, were willing to pay a high price to purchase information on his whereabouts? Wan Chang's expression did not look too good. He gave the order to the elite intelligence officer to immediately return and report on the situation. If the client cancelled the mission because of a problem with the efficiency of the mission, his own reputation would be affected to a certain extent. It was about time for him to be promoted again. If he could not display his capabilities, he would miss out on this promotion opportunity. Another day passed. The elite intelligence officer did not come back. Wan Chong frowned and sent another senior elite intelligence officer, who he ordered in no uncertain terms that, no matter the outcome, had to return as soon as possible to report. In the end, this senior elite intelligence officer never came back either. I underestimated the Chu family. Wan Chong smiled. The Chu family should be proud of themselves. They forced a bronze-level officer like me to personally take action. After putting on his equipment, he took advantage of the cover of night to head towards the Chu family's territory. No one could stop him from advancing to the elite Tower Lord position. He had already been an ordinary Tower Lord for 30 years. Only by becoming an elite Tower Lord would he be able to obtain more resources and raise his cultivation to the 3rd level of the Unity Realm and beyond. There were only 2 ways to be promoted to the elite Tower Lord position. He either had to display sufficient capability, and his mission completion records had to be superior, or his cultivation had to surpass the 3rd level of the Unity Realm. In this world, strength was the most important. Even if his capabilities were slightly inferior, as long as his cultivation was high enough, he would be able to advance. Wan Chong was very confident. He was a bronze-level intelligence officer who had many missions under his belt. As a 9th-level spirit realm cultivator, he had once assassinated a 1st-level void realm cultivator. He understood the strength of the Chu family, and no one there was capable of stopping him. Even if the Chu family had a hidden unity realm cultivator, they would not be able to stop him. The ability of a bronze-level intelligence officer to conceal themselves and escape far surpassed what an elite intelligence officer was capable of. Back then, as a 9th-level spirit realm cultivator, he had escaped from the hands of 3 5th-level void realm cultivators. He currently possessed the strength of a peak-stage void realm cultivator. He was confident in his ability to escape even if his opponent was a cultivator at the 1st or 2nd level of the Unity realm. Moreover, as the Tower Lord of Chu County's Black Moon Tower, he possessed more treasures at his disposal than an ordinary bronze-level intelligence officer, which meant that he had numerous ways to flee and survive. Wan Chong had been filled with confidence when he arrived at the Chu family's territory, but, at this very moment, his heart was on the verge of collapsing. There was actually such a terrifying figure hiding in the Chu family. If his information was correct, the other party was Chu Chuluo's son. It definitely was not possible. How old was Chu Chuluo's son? How could he be so powerful? Even if he started cultivating in his mother's womb, it was impossible for him to have become so powerful. Emperor Realm. The southern region had no emperor, so this person here was already the strongest person in the southern region. Wan Chong was one of the many tower lords of the Black Moon Tower. He knew more secrets than most cultivators. There was no emperor in the southern region not only because the laws of heaven and earth were incomplete here, but also because there was no emperor's inheritance. The Emperor Realm experts from the other regions were naturally unwilling to come to the southern region. Naturally, there were also other reasons. He was shocked. How did he become an emperor? The appointed time had not elapsed yet. The Emperor Realm experts from the outer regions would not come. The Tower Lord of Chu County's Black Moon Tower. Chu Zan looked at Wan Chong, who was kneeling on the ground, shivering, and asked with a smile on his face. He had finally caught a decent fish. Yes, yes. Wan Chong did not dare to harbor any thoughts of putting up a resistance. Tell me, why are you here? Chu Zan had formulated a plan in his heart. For the time being, he would control Wan Chong as the Tower Lord of the Black Moon Tower. This would alleviate his problems in terms of lacking intelligence and information. He would then wait for an opportunity to take control of the person in charge of the Black Moon Tower in the Qin Kingdom. When he was stronger, he would slowly lure even bigger fish over. Wan Chong did not dare to hide the truth. The reputation of the Black Moon Tower was meaningless in front of an Emperor Realm cultivator. He was honest and explained everything that Hu Quan had entrusted him with. Chu Zan was speechless. Did the Chu family have any enmity with Hu Quan? Chu Zan naturally knew what the other party wanted to do. What's the latest trend among heretic cultivators? Chu Zan was very curious as to what kind of trend Kun Wu had stirred up among the heretic cultivators. Some lunatics among the heretic cultivators take great pride in charging into the evil king's palace. Wan Chong explained in detail the goings-on around the evil imperial court. Chu Zan instantly became speechless. FCK, were those evil cultivators nuts? They actually took pride in charging into the evil king's palace, to the point that it had even become a trend. Without a friend who had barged into the evil king's palace, they were too embarrassed to come out and brag. As expected, those who cultivated evil techniques could easily damage their brains. Chu Zan planted a soul seal on Wan Chong and also planted a soul seal on the other 3 people he controlled. He allowed the other 3 leave, leaving Wan Chong behind to help him understand how the Black Moon Tower functioned and operated. Although Wan Chong was only an ordinary tower lord, he had a good understanding of the system and operations of the Black Moon Tower. Of course, there were some things that people of his level were unable to come into contact with. The Tower Lords of the Black Moon Tower were divided into Ordinary Tower Lords, Elite Tower Lords, Bronze, Silver, Gold, 1 star to 9 star, and so on. Wan Chong was only an ordinary Tower Lord who was striving to become an Elite Tower Lord. The Tower Lord of the Black Moon Tower of the Qin Kingdom was an Elite Tower Lord. If Wan Chong was promoted, he would replace the Elite Tower Lord and become the new person in charge of the Black Moon Tower of the Qin Kingdom. What are the requirements for one to become an Elite Tower Lord? Performance, capability, or strength? Wan Chong replied respectfully. Who is the Tower Lord of the Black Moon Tower of the Qin Kingdom? I don't know. The Black Moon Tower's system is quite independent. Usually, one cannot get in touch with those of a higher level. Chuzan entered a state of deep thought. The system of the Black Moon Tower was very meticulous. It was divided into many departments, and each had different responsibilities. Above those many departments, there was a coordinator. Wan Chong was very confident in advancing to the position of elite tower lord as long as nothing unexpected happened in the near future. Chuzan threw out a bottle of pills. These pills will be enough for you to break through to the third level of the Unity Realm in a short period of time. Wan Chong took it and said respectfully, "Thank you, my lord. I'll do my job well. I won't let you down." Chuzan encouraged him and said, "You can go about your usual duties. Send someone to deliver information to me from time to time." "Yes, my lord." Wan Chong asked carefully, "How should we deal with Hu Quan's request? Should we?" He made a cutthroat gesture. Chapter 49, Parent-Child Communication Talisman. Give him the topographic map and information on our defensive locations. Don't worry too much about his movements. Chuzan thought for a moment and passed a topographic map of the Chu family's territory to Wan Chong. As long as Hu Quan decided to act, the man would have to pass by his small courtyard. In fact, he was also very curious as to what Hu Quan, the sect leader of the Purple Moon Kingdom's heretic cult, wanted to do. Chuzan was already an Emperor Realm powerhouse, so he was naturally not worried about any accidents happening. "Yes, my lord. All right, you can go back now." Chuzan waved his hand and sent Wan Chong away. "Yes." Wan Chong left respectfully. "You didn't leave seclusion, but managed to secretly take control of Chu County's Black Moon Tower. You've been rewarded with the Parent-Child Communication Talisman Refinement Method. A new system notification arrived. Parent-Child Communication Talisman." Chuzan examined the description of the Parent-Child Communication Talisman. The Parent-Child Communication Talisman is centered around the Parent Talisman. The child talismans can communicate with each other. This was a type of talisman used for communication. The Parent Talisman was the main control talisman. It could receive information from all the child talismans and control each of the child talismans. The child talismans could also communicate with each other. A single parent talisman could control at least 100 child talismans. The level of the parent talisman dictated the number of child talismans it could control as well as the communication range it was capable of. The lowest level parent-child communication talismans could communicate with each other within a range of 30,000 li. The higher level parent-child communication talismans could communicate with each other within a range of 1,000,000 li without any obstruction. Chuzan was very satisfied with this reward. It just so happened that refining it would allow him to send and receive information to and from the Black Moon Tower. The parent talisman was in his hands, so he could control the child talisman the entire time. By setting up a secret signal, even if the child talisman was obtained by someone else, he would be able to find out immediately. Moreover, Chuzan believed that he could set a password for the child talisman. If someone obtained the child talisman, they would be unable to use it without the corresponding password. The parent talisman could even locate the child talismans. Based on Chuzan's current understanding of the situation, the southern region did not have a communication spirit tool that was similar to a communication talisman. Even though the Black Moon Tower was famous for their intelligence-gathering capabilities, they still used a special type of demonic bird to transmit information. More commonly, they used a type of color-changing pearl to send orders, using different colors to represent different orders. This was also a common communication item used by the various large factions. These orders and their corresponding colors had all been predetermined beforehand. For example, black represented danger, return or escape, while the yellow represented concealment. Red represented an order to take action or attack. These were all decided beforehand. Once the pearl flashed a certain color and broke, the holder would know what to do. Currently, there was no spirit tool that could transmit information. The appearance of the parent-child communication talisman would definitely shake up the intelligence-gathering world. Any information could be relayed without delay. No matter how fast the demonic birds nurtured by the Black Moon Tower were, there would still be a delay in transmitting and receiving information. Moreover, if there were any accidents along the way, the delay would be even longer, or even worse, the information might not reach its intended recipient at all. Chuzan also thought of a different way to obtain intelligence. He would control the parent talisman and sell off the child talismans. Those who use the child talismans to communicate would naturally be playing right into his hands. This was especially true if he sold it to some large factions. These buyers were unaware of the existence of the parent talisman, and the child talismans could be configured to leave a mark on each other so that they could communicate. In this way, the intelligence of the whole faction would be at his fingertips. Chuzan decided to refine a set and try it out. There might be more functions that could be discovered in the process of using it. Furthermore, the parent-child communication talisman could also be upgraded to expand its functions. Not long after Wan Chong left, he was summoned back by Chuzan. Chuzan handed the list of materials needed to refine the parent-child communication talisman to Wan Chong for him to prepare and sent him away. It was not difficult for Chuzan to refine the parent-child communication talisman, but it would be a bit troublesome to refine it in large quantities. Therefore, Chuzan wanted to take in a disciple with superior talent to help him refine the communication talismans. Chuzan had a big plan in mind for these talismans. Once it was successfully implemented, it would be equivalent to building a giant communication network, which he alone would control through the parent talisman. In this way, without ever leaving seclusion, he would be able to know what was going on in the outside world, and even the secrets of the various sects and factions. However, to do so, he had to keep the parent talisman a secret. Otherwise, how could those sects and factions be willing to use it? Chuzan looked at the lucky mystic realm again. It had been such a long time. Why had it not attracted a single person with great luck? He was really short on manpower. Those with average talent were not worth nurturing, so he did not bother to waste his resources on them. As for the Chu family, forget it. He still wanted to keep a low profile and could not be bothered to groom any talents from the Chu family. The materials needed to refine the parent-child communication talisman were sent over very quickly. The one in charge of sending the materials over was Xiao Hu. As the Tower Lord, Wan Chong naturally could not leave as he wished. Chuzan would not allow him to come personally unless it was an important matter. Xiao Hu was currently in charge of running errands for Chuzan. Chuzan spent more than 2 hours refining one parent talisman and 100 child talismans. He handed a few child talismans to Xiao Hu and asked him to bring them back to Wan Chong. He also explained how to use them. Xiao Hu's face was filled with shock. As an intelligence officer, he naturally understood how the appearance of these talismans would affect the cultivation world in the southern region. Chuzan knew that once the existence of the child talismans were discovered by the higher-ups of the Black Moon Tower, they would attract the attention of countless eyes. Thus, he temporarily did not plan to distribute them widely. For the time being, he would only give it to Wan Chong and a few others so that they could send him information in a timely manner. He would only publicize the existence of the talismans when he was strong enough. The waters in the Black Moon Tower still ran quite deep. Chuzan felt that his Emperor realm strength was still insufficient. He was worried that he would fish out the big fish too soon. Xiao Hu took the communication talismans and left. Over the next few days, Chuzan used the myriad heavenly mirror to randomly connect to other places while occasionally chatting with Du Yuan. He was able to deceive this supreme realm expert, who was also an itinerant cultivator. Chuzan enjoyed the feeling of masquerading as a senior expert very much. He would occasionally explain one or two small secret techniques to Du Yuan, which made the latter admire him endlessly. Du Yuan increasingly regarded Chuzan as an unfathomable character. Although Chuzan's cultivation was inferior to Du Yuan's, the secret techniques he grasped had all come from the system and, thanks to the system, he had already completely comprehended them. The only area in which he was lacking was in his cultivation base. In terms of the comprehension of secret techniques, Du Yuan was far inferior to him. As the two of them chatted, Du Yuan would occasionally ask Chuzan for advice on the problems he encountered. "Senior, I've recently encountered a problem. I've been hesitating about it, so I'd like to ask Senior for some advice." "What is it?" Chuzan's current persona was that of someone who had been in seclusion for a long time. After exiting seclusion, he had stumbled across Du Yuan, which he attributed to fate. Since he had found someone to chat with, he gave him some advice like a senior would to a junior. There is a great clan in the western region. Among the younger generation, there is a former genius. However, 3 years ago, he was suddenly partially crippled and his cultivation base stagnated. Not long ago, he had his marriage engagement annulled. Chuzan's expression turned strange when he heard this. Why did this former genius of the great clan seem to possess the template of a protagonist? He had once been a chosen one, but now he had been crippled and his marriage engagement had been annulled. Was he also being bullied? The rest of the story was rather straightforward. In order to treat his injuries, the father of that genius went out to search for medicine and went missing. The genius was then thoroughly humiliated by others in the clan. Finally, 3 days ago, the genius suddenly exploded with rage. He pushed a certain heaven's blessed who had humiliated him to the ground and even stole a batch of resources from the clan while arrogantly shouting that he would leave the clan. Currently, that clan had issued a death warrant for him. Anyone who killed the genius or captured him would be richly rewarded. Some people in Du Yuan's family were tempted and found traces of that genius. However, that genius was from a powerful clan after all, and the impact of this matter was too great. They were afraid that they would not be able to take him down, so they came to ask Du Yuan for help. Chapter 50. The waters in the southern region run deep. Du Yuan was an itinerant cultivator. For him to survive up till now and reach the supreme realm, other than talent and luck, the most important factor was caution. The father of that genius was not a simple figure, and was a peak-stage supreme realm expert. It was said that there was even a chance for him to break through to the heaven realm. What if the other party had not died and returned to discover that his son had been killed? There was no way that he would let this matter rest. Anyone who participated in this matter would be buried along with his son. The small family that Du Yuan was in would have no way of withstanding the other party's fury. Even though the great clan had spread the news that the genius, father had already fallen, and the father's life tablet had already shattered, Du Yuan was very clear that if one entered a certain secret realm and obtained a unique opportunity, or if there were some other special circumstances, the life tablet would shatter, but one might not necessarily die. When he was at the Emperor realm, he had encountered such a situation. His enemy believed him to be dead, which was what gave him the time and opportunity to advance to the supreme realm and kill his enemy. It was precisely because of this experience that Du Yuan hesitated on whether he should participate or not out of caution. The reward offered by that great clan was too generous, which tempted many forces. If his small family obtained this amount of resources, their overall strength would increase by 30%. He would also have the chance to break through another small realm within the next 10 years. Chu Zan felt that this genius was not simple and that his rise to prominence was inevitable. Perhaps he might even have an old grandfather or senior expert by his side. He had fallen from grace and suffered the humiliation from various parties. However, if he had chosen to act now, there was a high likelihood that he had recovered his ability and increased his strength. It was likely that his enemies in that great clan had become fearful of his potential and revenge, which was why they were sparing no expense to kill him. The genius had the aura of a protagonist, which meant that it would be extremely difficult to kill him. If Du Yuan participated in the hunt, there was a high possibility that the genius would eventually rise up and kill him, destroying his small family. Don't participate in this matter, or you will encounter a disaster, Chu Zan said mysteriously. Du Yuan immediately sucked in a breath and asked, Senior, will there really be a disaster if we participate? From a genius to a loser, and then from a loser to a genius. There must be a secret behind it all. It has to be known that every peerless expert killed countless geniuses, treating them as stepping stones for their ascension. Just wait and see. Those who participate in this matter will suffer the consequences. The more famous geniuses there are that participate, the more likely they will die or be crippled in the end. Du Yuan took a deep breath and said, I'll listen to Senior's advice. I'll stop them from participating. Chu Zan was not surprised that Du Yuan would listen to his suggestion. Du Yuan had always been cautious and preferred not to participate anyway. A few days later, Du Yuan appeared to be even more respectful of Chu Zan. He was glad that he had stopped his small family from participating in the encirclement of that genius. Just as Chu Zan had expected, that genius had swept through all his enemies. Almost all of the geniuses in Du Yuan's city had fallen. After that genius had killed everyone, he had fled without a trace. He also announced that he would take revenge on all the powers that had participated. There was a revered elder from a certain family who had personally acted to resolve this hidden danger. In the end, that genius had been saved by a mysterious expert. Chu Zan had become interested in that genius. He was now thinking about whether or not he should set up another lucky mystic realm in the northern zone. Perhaps that genius would stumble upon his lucky mystic realm. He had a premonition that that genius would soon become famous in the northern zone and rise up quickly, stepping on many heavens blessed along the way. Half a month soon passed. Chu Zan's life passed peacefully. He cultivated, studied the information sent to him by the Black Moon Tower, and randomly connected to various places with the myriad heavenly mirror. Occasionally, he would chat with Du Yuan. After the sect leader of the Purple Moon Kingdom's heretic cult, Hu Quan, obtained the topographic map of the Chu family's territory, he had not made any movements. Chu Zan was a little curious. Was the other party planning some big conspiracy? However, his curiosity did not extend to caution. Any conspiracy, in the face of absolute strength, would be useless and fragile. It had been a few days since he last contacted Du Yuan to chat. Chu Zan took out the myriad heavenly mirror, infused his spiritual power into it, and connected it to Du Yuan's mark. The image projection soon connected. He discovered Du Yuan sitting high at the head of a large hall. The small family that he was the guardian of was holding a meeting. Chu Zan did not disturb him and simply observed quietly. The main point of this meeting was to discuss the family's decision to send 2 talented juniors to participate in the disciple selection of a large sect in the northern zone. Although the small family had the protection of Du Yuan, a supreme realm expert, their overall strength was not very strong. After all, they could not rely on Du Yuan for everything. In order to increase the family's strength and influence, they planned to curry favor with that large sect. After the meeting ended, Du Yuan returned to his residence as usual. Chu Zan then revealed the image projection of the myriad heavenly mirror and chatted with Du Yuan. Senior, I plan to make a long trip in the near future to prepare for the opening of the Asura Ancient Land. Asura Ancient Land? Chu Zan was stunned. Was Du Yuan going to participate in the fight for opportunities in a mystic realm? A mystic realm that even he, a supreme realm expert, was interested in was definitely not simple. Moreover, even the name of the mystic realm itself spoke volumes about it. It was definitely some sort of ancient battlefield or something similar to that. Yes, the southern region's Asura Ancient Land will definitely open within a few decades. Du Yuan's expression was solemn as he continued. The southern region was the site of a great war during the ancient times. The ley lines there collapsed, which damaged the laws of heaven and earth in the southern region. Currently, the laws are recovering. Once the laws are restored, the Asura Ancient Land will appear. This junior plans to go to the southern region in advance to make some arrangements. It will also provide us with an advantage for when the Asura Ancient Land opens. He then sighed and said, this junior is just an itinerant cultivator. In the end, I can't be compared to those experts from the big forces. If I don't make some arrangements in advance, I'm afraid that I won't even have the qualifications to participate. Since the southern region is currently devoid of any major powers, this junior will go to the southern region to hide and prepare. Hearing this, Chu Zan immediately became nervous. I just became the strongest powerhouse in the southern region, and now a supreme realm powerhouse is coming. Apart from Du Yuan, did the experts from other provinces also have the same idea? That so-called Asura Ancient Land caused the southern region's ley lines to collapse. That big battle had probably turned the entire battlefield into a mystic realm. Once it was opened, it would naturally be extraordinary. Countless big forces all wanted a piece of the pie. Was the southern region going to be thrown into turmoil and chaos? Chu Zan immediately felt pressured. No, he had to increase his strength as soon as possible. He indirectly asked Du Yuan for information regarding the Asura Ancient Land. At the same time, he also wanted to find out if there were any other experts who would come to the southern region. What made him slightly relieved was that not all itinerant cultivators knew about the Asura Ancient Land. Du Yuan had found out about it through a fortuitous encounter he had obtained. The other great forces with long-standing inheritances would not send experts to the southern region because the time was not right. They would only take action after they had discussed the quota among themselves. Before they took action, they would join hands to block the entrance to the southern region, preventing the other forces and experts from entering. They would try their best to stop cultivators like Du Yuan, who were either itinerant or from smaller clans, from coming to the southern region. Chu Zan quickly thought of something and said, wait a moment. I'll take a look at the situation in the southern region for you. After putting on an act, his eyes glowed with a golden light and shone in a certain direction. Du Yuan was shocked by the strength of this senior. After a long while, Chu Zan said, Little Du, listen to senior's advice. The waters in the southern region run deep. You can't fully grasp the dangers there. Chapter 51. Crossing Realms to Accept a Disciple. Du Yuan's expression tensed up as he carefully asked, Senior, the southern region's ley lines have collapsed. The laws of heaven and earth there are incomplete and their inheritance is missing. There shouldn't even be an Emperor Realm cultivator there, right? If the southern region did not even have an Emperor Realm cultivator, how deep could such waters run? However, since Senior said there were dangers, there had to be a reason. Chu Zan said in an unfathomable manner, Little Du, what kind of battle has the scale to render the laws of heaven and earth in the southern region incomplete? One that at least involved Heaven Realm cultivators, Du Yuan thought for a moment and said. No matter how many Supreme Realm experts fought, they would not be able to make the ley lines collapse, nor damage the laws of heaven and earth. Only the legendary Heaven Realm experts could do such a thing. In the southern region, a group of Heaven Realm little guys are setting something up. You're just a tiny Supreme Realm expert, you can't afford to wade into such deep waters. Listen to Senior's advice, the opportunities there are not for you. Du Yuan's expression immediately changed. A trap set up by Heaven Realm experts. Moreover, it was even a group of them. If he, a puny Supreme Realm expert, waded in, there would not even be ashes left of his corpse. What made him even more shocked was that the Heaven Realm experts were just a group of little fellows according to Senior's words. It could be seen from this that Senior's strength was absolutely beyond imagination. Thank you, Senior, Du Yuan respectfully said. Oh, it's not easy to survive as an itinerant cultivator after all. There are numerous traps out there. It's better for you to be cautious. Chu Zan let out a sigh of relief after finally stopping Du Yuan from coming to the southern region. However, he did not completely relax either. Even if Du Yuan did not come, what about the other experts? Du Yuan was definitely not the only itinerant cultivator who knew about the War Devil ancient land. It was possible that there was an Emperor Realm expert or even a Supreme Realm expert hiding in some remote corner of the South Province. He had to stabilize himself and increase his cultivation as soon as possible. Apart from raising his cultivation, he also had to prepare some contingency plans. For example, Ren Chang. If he could get the latter to accept the Soul Seal willingly, he would have a trump card that could rush to the southern region if there were any changes that he could not deal with himself. After cultivating the Yin-Yang combination Divine Seal, Ren Chang would not have much of a problem getting out of the Fallen God Cave, and his strength would also have increased by a level. As a peak stage Heaven Realm expert, or perhaps even stronger by then, he would definitely be able to stabilize the situation in the southern region. Hence, it was absolutely imperative for Chu Zan to deceive Ren Chang. He continued to put on an act in front of Du Yuan and rambled on about those Heaven Realm cultivators who were setting up some sort of trap to kill people. After scaring Du Yuan off from the southern region, he ended the connection with Du Yuan. The myriad heavenly mirror still had one more chance to connect. Chu Zan no longer hesitated and connected it to Ren Changhei's location. The lifeless fallen god cave was still the same. In the stone house, the aura of death on Ren Changhei's body was even denser. His entire body even seemed to have dried up a little. Looking at the situation, Ren Chang had not managed to comprehend anything. On the contrary, the aura of death on his body was even more plentiful. If he had said previously that Ren Chang could live for 1,000 years without a problem, then the current Ren Chang could only live for 700 or 800 years. Chu Zan even suspected that if he did not come, the man would have been courting death ahead of time. This was a peerless heavens blessed who had cultivated to the heaven realm within 10,000 years. It was a little underwhelming. Bathed in divine light, Chu Zan sighed. Sigh, your innate talent is dull, truly dull. Ren Changhei's spirit was roused. He raised his head and saw Chu Zan bathed in divine light. He was extremely excited. Senior. He was almost about to cry. He had been comprehending the cycle of life and death, refining the aura of death as his life force. In the end, the aura of death eroded even more of his vitality, and his lifespan decreased by 200 years or so. He was so scared that he did not dare to continue comprehending. However, he was not willing to be trapped here and die either. Recently, he had been doubting himself. Was he really a top-notch heavens blessed? Why was he unable to comprehend it? Junior's talent is dull, so I am unable to comprehend it. Senior, please give me some pointers. Ren Chang prostrated himself on the ground and said respectfully. He had reached the peak of the heaven realm and swept away all of his peers back then. He had been invincible in the same realm. However, at this moment, all of it had turned into shame. He no longer had a trace of pride. If he did not truly believe that his talent was insignificant, he would have kowtowed and begged Chu Zan to accept him as a disciple. Sigh. Chu Zan let out a long sigh. Stupid, stupid. He shook his head and sighed. He remained silent for a long time. Ren Chang remained prostrated on the ground, feeling nervous. Did Senior disdain his talent? Would he refuse to give him some pointers? Well, there is some fate after all. After a long while, Chu Zan said, however, such things are not passed down lightly. You can be considered to have some fate in meeting me. I will temporarily take you in as an in-name disciple. Are you willing? Ren Chang was overjoyed and said, I am willing. An in-name disciple was also a disciple. Chu Zan continued, although you are an in-name disciple, you still have to leave this realm and explore the myriad realms. However, your strength is still insufficient. Logically speaking, you do not have the qualifications. After pausing for a moment, he continued, this venerable self will bestow you with a seal. This will make you an exception and allow you to have the qualifications to travel to the myriad realms in the heavens. You can also incorporate the seal into your divine soul. After Chu Zan finished speaking, he condensed a soul seed seal and transmitted it over through the myriad heavenly mirror. As for whether Ren Chang would incorporate it into his divine soul, that would depend on his choice. After he planted the soul seed seal, Ren Chang was no longer able to have any thoughts of resisting Chu Zan himself. In fact, the man would even have to act according to his own will. Although it seemed like Ren Chang had suffered a loss, it was actually a fortuitous encounter for him. If he had not met Chu Zan, he definitely would not have been able to escape this place, he would have definitely died after 1,000 years. After planting the soul seal, he would impart the yin-yang combination divine seal to Ren Chang, which would allow him to refine the aura of death in the fallen god cave into life force. The cycle of life and death would allow him to break through his shackles and take another step forward in his cultivation. Ren Chang looked at the mysterious and small seal before him. Without any hesitation, he immediately absorbed it into his divine soul. He was also a decisive person. Regardless of whether there was a conspiracy or not, if he could not escape, how long would he be able to live anyway? He might as well take this gamble. Whether it was worth it or not, he would soon know. If the other party was able to impart the technique to cultivate the aura of death as life force, then he would have obtained a great opportunity. Ren Chang felt that there was something wrong with the soul seal, but he could not pinpoint what it was. However, at this moment, he seemed to have more respect for that senior, and he could not think ill of the man. After carefully confirming that there was nothing wrong with the soul seal, Ren Chang realized that he did not feel any discomfort either. He had always respected this senior anyway, so what was the big deal if he felt a little more respect? After Ren Chang absorbed the soul seal into his soul, Chu Zan was overjoyed. He finally managed to obtain a peak stage heaven realm disciple. After he passed the yin-yang combination divine seal to him, his strength would rise to a higher level on the day he chose to leave this place. He was truly an expert that belonged at the top of the 9 zones and 50 regions. Chu Zan sensed that the soul seal in Ren Changhai's soul had already been implanted. Unless his divine soul collapsed, his body disintegrated and his Tao shattered, he would not be able to get rid of it. It was perfect. You stayed in seclusion and crossed realms to take in a disciple. You have been rewarded with 100 years worth of cultivation and the 100 tempering divine technique middle section. Chu Zan's was filled with joy. The system's reward that was triggered this time had actually rewarded him with 100 years worth of cultivation. After a few more such rewards, he would break through to the supreme realm. He also obtained the follow-up section of the 100 tempering divine technique. Having cultivated this technique for such a long time, Chu Zan had a deep understanding of how powerful this divine soul cultivation technique was. Although his current cultivation base was at the 2nd level of the Emperor realm, the strength of his divine soul was no weaker than that of an ordinary 5th level Emperor realm cultivator. It was all thanks to the assistance of the 100 tempering divine technique in the spirit cultivating diagram. Chapter 52, Teaching Ren Chang the Yin-Yang Combination Divine Seal. Chu Zan did not opt to receive the 100 years worth of cultivation base and the 100 divine tempering divine technique rewards immediately. Instead, he taught Ren Chang the yin-yang combination divine seal. After all, receiving the rewards would require a certain amount of time to digest and, since it would require him to cut off the spiritual power infusion to the myriad heavenly mirror, it would also end the connection with Ren Chang. He did not want the other party to think that he was a swindler. Since you are my in-name disciple, I will teach you a great technique. This technique is called the yin-yang combination divine seal. If you succeed in cultivating it, you can refine the aura of death into life force, and it will grant you a glimpse into the cycle of life and death and the great Tao of yin and yang. Ren Chang bowed respectfully and said, "Thank you, Master." Okay, listen carefully. The divine light on Chu Zan's body became more and more dazzling, which made him look even more majestic, like an immortal descending into the mortal world. Every word and sentence was like the sound of the great Tao, transmitted through the myriad heavenly mirror to where Ren Chang was. Chu Zan had already completely comprehended the yin-yang combination divine seal. Although his strength was inferior to Ren Changhai's, in terms of comprehension of this technique, he was definitely miles ahead. Ren Chang started comprehending the yin-yang combination divine seal. His heart was surging with emotion. He had made the right choice. Indeed, an opportunity had come his way. This yin-yang combination divine seal was extremely profound and pointed one directly toward the great Tao of yin and yang. Even with his talent, he could not comprehend it within a short period of time. Chu Zan finished imparting the yin-yang combination divine seal and asked, "How much have you comprehended?" Ren Chang immediately said in embarrassment, "Master, I am lacking. I have only comprehended less than 10%. Chu Zan was speechless. Was Ren Changhai's comprehension too poor, or was the yin-yang combination divine seal too profound? Although the system had directly instilled the technique into him, which allowed him to completely comprehend it, he himself did not feel that the technique itself was too difficult to comprehend. Even without the system's help, Chu Zan felt that he would not need too much time to comprehend it. Ren Chang was at the peak stage heaven realm cultivator, yet he had only comprehended less than 10%. There was no way for an untalented person to cultivate to the heaven realm. Moreover, Ren Chang had reached the heaven realm within 10,000 years. Back then, he had been very proud. His talent was regarded as exceptional and he was widely praised as a top-notch heaven's blessed. This could only mean that the yin-yang combination divine seal was more profound than he had expected. Ren Chang saw that Chu Zan had remained silent for a long time and felt even more ashamed. His heart was even more uneasy. Could it be that Master regretted taking him in as a disciple? He vowed to work hard in his cultivation. He absolutely could not let Master down. Let me explain the mystery of refining the aura of death into life force first. After some time, Chu Zan opened his mouth to speak. One could not tell whether he was happy, angry, or dissatisfied. "Thank you, Master." Ren Chang heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Next, Chu Zan explained to Ren Chang how to refine the aura of death into life force. It took Ren Chang a full half an hour to completely grasp it. "You should continue to cultivate and meditate." After finishing his explanation to Ren Chang, Chu Zan cut off the spiritual energy input and deactivated the myriad heavenly mirror. "Farewell, Master." Ren Chang bowed and said. After a long while, he raised his head with a determined look in his eyes. He was once the top-notch heavens blessed of the 9 zones and 50 regions, almost invincible among his peers. "I, Ren Chang, am not inferior to anyone. I will not disappoint my master." Ren Chang began to cultivate the yin-yang combination divine seal. As long as he successfully cultivated the aura of death into life force, he would not have to worry about the problem of dying here. Once his understanding of the cycle of life and death increased, he would have no problem escaping the fallen god cave, and his strength would also improve. He now had the hope of breaking through to the legendary divine realm. After Chu Zan deactivated the myriad heaven mirror, he immediately received the reward. 100 years' worth of cultivation was instilled into him. Bang! His cultivation started to increase. 3rd level Emperor Realm, 4th level Emperor Realm, 5th level Emperor Realm. In the end, his strength increased to the 5th level of the Emperor Realm. Chu Zan sighed. The higher his cultivation, the slower his cultivation speed would be. 100 years' worth of cultivation only allowed him to break through to 3 levels. After receiving the 100 Tempering Divine Technique middle section, he realized that, compared to the first section, the middle section not only increased the cultivation of the Divine Soul, it also provided him with a number of Divine Soul Defense and Divine Soul Attack techniques. Chu Zan immediately condensed a soul spear. This spear would not harm the physical body of the enemy, but only their soul. It was impossible to defend against. At this point, Chu Zan's soul defense and attack techniques were complete. The enhanced version of the spirit cultivating diagram that the system had rewarded him with previously did not have much effect now. Chu Zan had to stare at it for a few hours before he even felt a slight dizziness. Its effects were now too lacking and slow to assist him in the cultivation of the soul. To other Emperor Realm experts, it was most likely still a supreme treasure for the cultivation of the soul. However, to Chu Zan, who pursued efficiency, it was of little value. He was different from the others. The concept of closed-door cultivation was alien to him. Staring at it for a few hours did not suit his lifestyle at home. After his cultivation level broke through, Chu Zan immediately contacted Wan Chong with his parent-child communication talisman. He told Wan Chong to collect information about the Asura ancient land and to find out whether there were any experts from the other regions coming to the southern region. At the same time, he asked Wan Chong to pay attention to whether there were any experts at the Emperor Realm or above from the Black Moon Tower coming to the southern region. Wan Chang's status in the Black Moon Tower was still a little low. Even if he became the elite Tower Lord, he would only control the operations of the Black Moon Tower in the Qin Kingdom. He would not be able to access higher-level information of the Black Moon Tower's operations. Chu Zan decided to further expand his control over the Black Moon Tower. After Wan Chong became an elite Tower Lord and controlled the operations in the state of Qin, he would think of a way to lure out his superior, the Bronze-level Tower Lord. There were many Bronze-level Tower Lords in the Black Moon Tower. Chu Zan only needed to control Wan Chang's superior. After controlling the Bronze-level Tower Lord, he would then go after the Silver-level Tower Lord and, if the right conditions were met, he would try to control a Gold-level Tower Lord. A Gold-level Tower Lord was considered a junior high-level official in the Black Moon Tower. The intelligence and authority one wielded in the Black Moon Tower was not low. The Gold-level Tower Lord was definitely one of the highest-level officials in the southern region. According to the classification system of the Black Moon Tower, the lowest cultivation level of the Gold-level Tower Lord was at the third level of the Truth Realm. Apart from controlling the Gold-level Tower Lord, he also had to control some of the guards. Chu Zan suspected that the Black Moon Tower had an Emperor Realm expert guarding the southern region. A day later, Wan Chong sent him a message. He did not know anything about the Asura ancient land. With his current authority, he could not find any relevant information about the matter in the Black Moon Tower. Chu Zan was not surprised. Wan Chang's status in the Black Moon Tower was simply too low. He ordered him to do his best to be promoted to the position of elite Tower Lord as soon as possible. His fifth-level Emperor Realm cultivation was insufficient. He had to break through to the Supreme Realm. Fortunately, there was still quite some time before the Asura ancient land opened. Moreover, there would not be any experts from the outer regions coming over for the time being. He still had some time to strengthen himself. Heaven Realm experts would not involve themselves in this matter, right? He had to wait until he obtained more information about the Asura ancient land before he could make an accurate judgment. In the next half a month, the time Chu Zan used to cultivate increased. Moreover, he secretly observed Du Yuan several times and found that he had not left the western region. Only then did he slightly heave a sigh of relief. At the same time, he once again contacted Ren Cheng and taught him more about the yin-yang combination divine seal. Ren Cheng no longer looked lifeless. His body now exuded a strong life force, and his withered body seemed slightly fuller. It was still too soon before he could fully recover and escape from the fallen god cave. Wan Chong broke through to the Unity Realm and quickly advanced to the second level of the Unity Realm as well. At the same time, he was successfully promoted to the position of Elite Tower Lord. After becoming an Elite Tower Lord and taking control of the state of Qin's business, Wan Chong also made contact with the Bronze-level Tower Lord who was in charge of him. Chapter 53. Gold-level Tower Lord, Bao Hongyan. Yao Shang was Black Moon Tower's Bronze-level Tower Lord and Wan Chang's immediate superior. At this moment, this person was standing respectfully in front of Chu Zan. He was cursing Wan Chong in his heart. After Wan Chong had broken through, Chu Zan had asked Wan Chong to leave the small courtyard with a soul seed seal that was imbued with his Emperor-level cultivation base. Chu Zan's Emperor-level strength suppressed Yao Shang and the soul seed seal was soon implanted into the latter's soul. Yao Shang's mind was clear and he knew that he had been tricked. However, he could not resist. He cursed Wan Chang's 18 generations of ancestors in his heart. However, they were now both Chu Zan's subordinates. No matter how angry he was, he could not take revenge on Wan Chong. After controlling Yao Shang, Chu Zan asked the latter to come to the small courtyard. Do you know about the Asura ancient land? Chu Zan asked. Master, I don't know. Yao Shang lowered his head and replied. As expected, the intelligence classification grade of the Asura ancient land was not low. Even the Bronze-level Tower Lord did not have the right to come into contact with this information at all. After all, the Asura ancient land was still in a dormant state. Yao Shang would likely only be informed about it when it appeared. At that point, the Black Moon Tower would sell the information to create a profit. Chu Zan raised his hand and sent out a wisp of Emperor-level spiritual power that carried with it a soul imprint. He instructed Yao Shang to bring it along to control his superior, the Silver-level Tower Lord. As long as one was not an Emperor Realm powerhouse, they would not be able to resist the pressure of Chu Zan's spiritual power. Yao Shang left with that wisp of emperor-level energy. His heart was cold. It seemed that something big was going to happen to the Black Moon Tower. With this man's strange method, he managed to control 2 Tower Lords of the Black Moon Tower without anyone knowing. He was slowly eating away at the Black Moon Tower. In the end, he might even become the true master of the Black Moon Tower. Based on what he knew, the powerhouses of the Black Moon Tower might not be able to discover his strange method. Fan Chao was the silver-level Tower Lord of the Black Moon Tower and also Yao Shang's superior. The resources controlled by a silver-level Tower Lord far surpassed that of a bronze-level Tower Lord. Even so, he still had not come into contact with any information regarding the Asura ancient land. Fan Chao stood in front of Chu Zan respectfully. In his heart, he had similarly already cursed Yao Shang's 18 generations of ancestors. Yao Shang had actually tricked him. Chu Zan gained a further understanding of the Black Moon Tower's composition and operations. The Black Moon Tower was divided into the main department, the logistics department, and the guards department. Among these, the main department was responsible for the operations of the Black Moon Tower. The logistics department was responsible for the provision of the various resources of the Black Moon Tower, such as alchemy, refining weapons, and so on. It was worth mentioning that the intelligence personnel belonged to the main department of the Black Moon Tower. The guard department's responsibility was to protect the safety of the Black Moon Tower. It was a military department specially trained by the Black Moon Tower. Above the 3 departments, the Tower Lord held the most power. Power and strength were inseparable. The higher the position of the Tower Lord, the higher the requirement of strength to achieve it. Otherwise, how could the Tower Lord control their subordinates? Fan Chao was a silver-level Tower Lord who managed 3 bronze-level Tower Lords, and Yao Shang was only one of them. There were a total of 7 silver-level Tower Lords in the entire southern region. Each of them was a Truth Realm cultivator. Fan Chao was at the first level of the Truth Realm. Since he had not discovered any information about the Asura ancient land, Chu Zan could only continue down the warpath. The next step was to control the gold-level Tower Lord. Chu Zan also condensed a wisp of his Emperor-level power and instructed Fan Chao to carry it with him and look for his superior, the gold-level Tower Lord. Fan Chao's thoughts were identical to Yao Shang's. Something big was going to happen to the Black Moon Pavilion. However, after receiving the Soul Seed Seal, even though he was clear-headed, he could not resist and could only do as he was told. Bao Hongyan was a 4th-level Truth Realm cultivator and a gold-level Tower Lord of the Black Moon Tower. Chu Zan was quite surprised. Fan Chao's superior was actually a woman. Her figure was enchanting, her face was gorgeous, and she even looked somewhat familiar. How many gold-level Tower Lords are there in the southern region? Reporting to my lord, 3, Bao Hongyan respectfully replied. She was cursing Fan Chao inwardly and, at the same time, she was shocked by Chu Zan's capabilities. The Chu family had actually produced such a terrifying character. Moreover, he had already extended his hand toward the Black Moon Tower. What was even more terrifying was that, with this person's methods, the Black Moon Tower probably would not be able to notice any abnormalities until it was too late. Does the Black Moon Tower have an Emperor Realm expert guarding the southern region? This was something Chu Zan was very curious about. Even the evil Imperial Court, the major power behind the heretic cultivators, did not dare to offend the Black Moon Tower. If the Black Moon Tower did not have an expert guarding the southern region, they definitely would have attacked by now. One had to know that the Black Moon Tower sold countless resources and treasures. Those heretic cultivators all liked to kill people and steal treasures. If the Black Moon Tower was not strong enough, it would have long since been plundered by the evil Imperial Court. There's a 1-star Tower Lord guarding the southern region. It's rumored that he's only half a step away from the Emperor Realm. Generally speaking, the experts of the guard department are all stronger. There might be an Emperor Realm expert there, Bao Hongyan spoke with uncertainty. Chu Zan thought for a moment before giving up on the idea of controlling the 1-star Tower Lord. If the 1-star Tower Lord was only a step away from reaching the Emperor Realm, it was likely that he would not be able to control the person without anyone noticing. Once he was exposed, he would no longer be able to secretly slowly gain control of the Black Moon Tower. Do you know about the Asura ancient land? A little. Thanks to Bao Hongyan, the gold-level Tower Lord, Chu Zan finally received some information about the Asura ancient land. Speak. Yes, my lord. According to what Bao Hongyan said, the Asura ancient land was the site of a huge battle that broke out in the southern region when the demon race invaded the northern zone in ancient times. It was because of this huge battle that the southern region's ley lines collapsed and the laws of heaven and earth were incomplete. All the Emperor realm experts and above that were left behind after the war also withdrew from the southern region. As for the Asura ancient land, after the collapse of the ley lines and the damage to the laws of heaven and earth, it disappeared into the space that had been torn apart. According to their calculations, when the ley lines and the laws of heaven and earth of the southern region recovered, the Asura ancient land would reappear. Back then, when they fought against the demons, countless experts had died. There had to be many treasures and inheritances within, which was why the various major powers would send people to explore the ruins. As it had been too long, those who knew of the Asura ancient land were all superpowers of one kind or another. Hence, these major powers were all fighting for spots to participate. Once it was confirmed, they would begin to take action. Of course, it would still be some time before the Asura ancient land reappeared. Within 20 to 30 years, there was a high probability that no major powers would set foot in the southern region. Chuzan let out a sigh of relief. If no major powers experts would set foot into the southern region in 20 to 30 years, then he still had enough time to become stronger. However, he could not let his guard down. What if an itinerant cultivator like Du Yuan sneaked into the southern region in advance? Although they would hide themselves and shy away from trouble to avoid arousing any attention, they were still an unstable factor. For Chuzan, who was pursuing stability, all uncontrollable factors were potential sources of hidden danger. He immediately instructed Bao Hongyan to keep an eye out for any emperor level or above powerhouses who appeared in the southern region. Once there was any information, she was to inform him immediately. He gave Bao Hongyan a communication talisman so that they could keep in touch at all times. Chuzan did not plan to promote the parent-child communication talisman before he had enough strength to fully control the Black Moon Tower in the southern region. Moreover, Chuzan felt that the parent-child communication talisman needed to be further upgraded. With a higher-level parent-child communication talisman, he could control many more child talismans. He needed manpower to refine the parent-child communication talisman. He did not plan to do it himself. Therefore, he had to find someone with outstanding talent and great luck to appear. Chapter 54. Grand Moon Mystic Body, Su Shaner. ? There were a total of 3 gold-level tower lords in the southern region. They controlled Bao Hongyan's faction, which meant that Chuzan controlled 1/3 of the power of the Black Moon Tower in the southern region. With Bao Hongyan's status as a gold-level tower lord, she could access most of the Black Moon Tower's intelligence on the southern region. For example, she could immediately find out and inform Chuzan about any experts who appeared in the southern region. Moreover, with the parent-child communication talisman, the information could be transmitted in real time. Chuzan would have to read the reports from the Black Moon Tower every day. For example, what happened, what treasures appeared, and so on. The southern region was still very lively. Things like killing people and snatching treasures also happened from time to time. The extermination of a small clan would also occasionally happen once or twice. The great war between good and evil raged on every day. Chuzan's days passed calmly. Every day, he would use the myriad heavenly mirror to connect to the various regions randomly. Although, most of the time, it connected to a desolate place or to a demonic beast lair, Chuzan was still happy with it. Occasionally, he would chat with Du Yuan, primarily to get information about the Asura ancient land from him. At the same time, he paid attention to any inclinations from Du Yuan on whether or not he wanted to leave the western region and travel here. Ren Cheng continued to study the yin-yang combination divine seal. By this time, he had refined a lot of the aura of death into life force, and his body was no longer as dry and withered as a mummy. His body had recovered a bit of life force, though he was still a bit away from breaking free and comprehending the cycle of life and death. A month passed peacefully. Hu Quan had obtained the topographic map of the Chu family's territory, but there had been no movements from his side. Chuzan had learned this from the Black Moon Tower's intelligence. Apparently there were some changes going on in the Purple Moon Kingdom's heretic cult. Someone was fighting with Hu Quan for the position of sect leader. As such, Hu Quan would not take any action against the Chu family in a short period of time. Chuzan stared at the small hall of the Lucky Mystic Realm despondently. It had been such a long time, yet why had no one with great luck come to his doorstep? Why was it so difficult for him to take in a disciple or a maid? Could it be that there were no lucky persons in the southern region? Would such people only appear when the Asura ancient land was about to open? Chuzan was depressed. He still wanted to take in a capable disciple or a maid who could assist, run errands, and manage the Black Moon Tower for him. After all, his plans for the Black Moon Tower had just begun. It was time for dinner. A family servant came over with a meal. Chuzan was surprised. Why was there a new person? Moreover, it was a woman. Most importantly, the other party was actually disguising herself to conceal her identity as a woman. Chuzan's interest was immediately piqued and immediately activated the Heavenly Secrets origin probing technique. Su Shaner, 16 years old, Grand Moon Mystic Body, possesses great luck. She is the daughter of a concubine from the Su family of the Central Region. She fled from the Su family because she was trying to escape the engagement. She accidentally entered an ancient incomplete teleportation array and arrived at the Southern Region. She then disguised herself and hid in the Chu family to avoid being tracked down. Finally, a person with great luck had arrived, and it was a woman. Chuzan was secretly delighted. As expected, the lucky mystic realm could attract people with great luck. Su Shaner possessed a special constitution of the Grand Moon Mystic Body, and her level of innate talent was extraordinary. She was only 16 years old, yet she was already a second-level Void Realm expert. In the southern province, she was absolutely a top-notch heavens blessed. Su Shaner took out the food and placed it nearby. She retreated to the side, but her mind was constantly thinking about whether or not the Su clan would be able to track her to this place. The southern region was barren, and the Chu family was equivalent to a small family in the central region. It would not attract much attention. As long as she hid herself well, she would not be exposed. She had accidentally entered the ancient teleportation array and arrived in the southern region. She had managed to avoid many means of direction due to this fortuitous event. Now, as long as she avoided the Black Moon Tower in the southern province and was not discovered by their intelligence personnel, it would be almost impossible for the Su family to find her. As long as she broke through to the Emperor realm, she would naturally have a way of resolving the issue of that damn engagement. In order to avoid exposing herself, she had deliberately chosen this mission of delivering food to this small courtyard. She had inquired about this matter clearly beforehand. The person who lived in the small courtyard was a direct descendant of the Chu family, a good-for-nothing. As his food delivery servant, she did not need to do anything else. She just needed to deliver food to him. This way, she would have more time to cultivate. With the aura concealing technique that she cultivated, as long as she was careful and did not expose herself, no one in the Chu family would be able to discover her cultivation level. Su Shaner secretly hated her sister. With the latter's status as a direct descendant, she had actually fobbed off the engagement to Su Shaner. If that B***** was good-looking and had outstanding talent, she might have been able to endure it. However, he was too ugly and had a bad character, so there was no way she would accept such an engagement. And that detestable father of hers actually agreed to her sister's request. Su Shaner thought angrily in her heart. Suddenly, she was blinded by a dazzling seven-colored light in front of her. She raised her head and tried to see what was going on. Her small mouth opened slightly. She was completely stunned. The rumored trash of the Chu family was bathed in the seven-colored divine light. He looked like an immortal deity. Su Shaner of the Su family of the Central Region. The daughter of a concubine of the Su family. She escaped the engagement and mistakenly entered an ancient incomplete teleportation array and came to the Southern Region. Chuzan's dignified voice could be heard. Pa! The tray holding the meal in Su Shaner's hands clattered to the floor. She looked at Chuzan in shock. I am lacking a maid. Are you willing to take up this responsibility? Su Shaner was shocked. Was the person living in this small courtyard not the rumored trash-like direct descendant of the Chu family? What was going on? Who was he? This is an opportunity for you. You have a special constitution, the Grand Moon Mystic Body, but your cultivation technique is unable to display the characteristics of this constitution. With my guidance, it won't be difficult for you to reach the heaven realm. Chuzan's divine light seemed to envelope everything in its surroundings, and even removed Su Shaner's disguise, revealing her beautiful face. Su Shaner was now caught in a predicament. She was exposed. What she was most confused about was how the other party knew her background. Who was he? He wanted her to be his maid. Did that not mean that he could do whatever he wanted with her? Resist? How could she resist? The other party was extremely powerful. If she did not agree, what would happen? Would he use force? Grand Moon Mystic Body. Su Shaner had previously noticed that her constitution seemed to be somewhat special. However, she did not know what kind of constitution it was. The other party had seen through it with a single glance, so he had to be an extremely powerful expert. Was it a fortuitous encounter or a dead end? At this moment, Su Shaner was unable to make a judgment. The fact that you were able to make it here speaks volumes of your great luck. Why are you hesitating? Do you think that I covet your beauty? Chu Zan was speechless in his heart. This girl was really beautiful, though. No, I wouldn't dare to think so. It's just that senior, Su Shaner was extremely flustered. Do you think that just because you come from the Su family, becoming my maid is humiliating? No, Su Shaner pays her respects to senior. Su Shaner gritted her teeth and bowed respectfully. Very good. In the future, don't call me senior. Call me sir. The divine light around Chu Zan's body faded away, and his true appearance was revealed. Yes, sir. Su Shaner raised her head and looked at Chu Zan. He was so handsome. The first thought in her mind was that, if her betrothed had been so handsome, why would she have run away from the marriage engagement? Get up. Yes, sir. Su Shaner stood up. Her heart was in turmoil. She had only been in the southern region for a few days, yet she had already become someone else's maid. Moreover, no matter how she looked at it, he did not look like an old monster. He seemed to be only around 25 or 26 years old. Chapter 55. Controlling the southern region's Black Moon Tower. You did not leave seclusion, yet a person with great luck has come to seek refuge under you. You have taken in a maid. You have been rewarded with the Grand Moon Element Immortal spell in a lucky mystic realm. A system notification rang out in Chu Zan's mind. Chu Zan was not surprised by this. The Grand Moon Immortal spell was clearly a cultivation technique that was compatible with Su Shaner's Grand Moon mystic body. After receiving the reward, he discovered that the Grand Moon Immortal spell was indeed the cultivation technique that was most compatible with the Grand Moon mystic body. It was able to fully unleash the talent of the Grand Moon mystic body. He glanced at Su Shaner. This girl had a timid look on her face and her eyes were darting around as if trying to find an escape route. Come here. Yes. Su Shaner's face turned pale as she walked over. Since you are my maid, I will teach you a suitable cultivation technique today. Chu Zan raised his finger and pressed it against her fair and smooth forehead. Su Xian, was shocked. She wanted to dodge, but she could not. Information surged into her mind, and a cultivation technique slowly manifested itself. Su Shaner closed her eyes as she started comprehending the cultivation technique in her mind. After a full hour, she reopened her eyes. The aura around her body fluctuated for a moment. She had actually broken through to the third level of the Void Realm. Thank you, sir. Su Shaner prostrated herself. She was extremely excited, and no longer had the slightest bit of resistance or unwillingness toward becoming Chu Zan's maid. She only felt honored now. This was a cultivation technique that was above the legendary divine technique. It was impossible for even those in the heaven realm to cultivate this technique. Very good. Chu Zan passed a bottle of medicinal pills. These were spirit pills that were suitable for Void Realm cultivators. Cultivate well. I took you in as my maid so that you can help me with certain tasks. Chu Zan threw the parent-child communication talisman to her and said, just help me sort out and organize the information you receive from here. Su Shaner received the talisman with a dumbfounded expression. He had taken her in as a maid just so that she could do some tasks for him. Was he not prepared to do something to her? Sir is so good-looking and strong, I really won't resist. I'll teach you an aura concealing technique. Even if you reach the Supreme Realm, no one will be able to see through your cultivation. Chu Zan taught Su Shaner an aura concealing technique. It was several levels higher than the aura concealing technique that Su Shaner was currently using. Chu Zan did not lack cultivation techniques and secret arts. He had all kinds of them thanks to the system. Chu Zan was very satisfied with Su Shaner. She was good-looking, had outstanding innate talent, and was very suitable for running errands and tasks. In the future, she could be in charge of handling matters related to the Black Moon Tower. It was just that her current strength was still a little weak. However, that did not matter too much. Given her talent, and coupled with the fact that she cultivated the Grand Moon Immortal spell and had no lack of cultivation resources, she would be able to improve very quickly. It was more appropriate to control all three of the Black Moon Tower's gold-level tower lords in the southern region. They would then be able to pick a talented one between the three and train that person to become a one-star tower lord. Step by step, they would gain control of the Black Moon Tower. This is information from the Black Moon Tower. Su Shaner looked at the messages in the communication talisman and exclaimed in shock. Sir, are you a high-level member of the Black Moon Tower? Chuzan raised his eyebrows. From what he heard, the Black Moon Tower also existed in the central region, and it seemed that they were not weak there either. Not yet, I just extended a hand into the Black Moon Tower. Su Shaner was puzzled. What did he mean by extending a hand into the Black Moon Tower? Sir, the Su family must have already commissioned the Black Moon Tower to investigate my whereabouts. They won't be able to find me here, right? The Black Moon Tower was famous for their intelligence-gathering abilities. They were even able to find out the top secrets of some of the major powers. In the central province, the Black Moon Tower was also a very powerful force. Thanks to that, they did not suffer any retaliation even though they leaked the secrets of some major powers. Don't worry, in the southern region, the Black Moon Tower will not leak your information. Moreover, they can help you to conceal your whereabouts. Su Shaner represented him. She was in charge of some of the information. As such, how would the Black Moon Tower dare to leak her information? Now that he had a maid, he could relax. In addition, Chuzan had already planned to control the other two gold-level tower lords. Chuzan was a low-key person, so Su Shaner remained in her servant attire, looking delicate and pretty. She was somewhat frustrated that Chuzan really treated her like a normal maid. Bao Hongyan dropped by and left with 2 wisps of Chuzan's emperor-level spiritual power and the soul seed seals. Su Shaner was confused. She did not know which well-known beauty that was and what she was doing. Sir, who is she? After Bao Hongyan left, Su Shaner asked curiously. She is one of the Black Moon Tower's gold-level tower lords in the southern region. The Black Moon Tower's gold-level tower lord? Su Shaner was shocked and said, will she discover my true identity? She is one of us. What are you worried about? Chuzan threw a communication talisman to her and said, from now on, you will be responsible for contacting her, passing messages, and sorting through the information I am interested in. Soon enough, the remaining 2 gold-level tower lords of the Black Moon Tower were controlled by Chuzan. Now, more than half of the power of the Black Moon Tower in the southern region was under Chuzan's control. After controlling the tower lords, Chuzan quietly controlled the person in charge of the logistics next, as well as the 3 guards who were at the 9th level of the Truth Realm. On the surface, the power of the Black Moon Tower in the southern region was still controlled by the 1-star tower lord, but, in actual fact, the real controller was Chuzan. Su Shaner was extremely shocked. Chuzan had actually silently taken control of the Black Moon Tower in the southern region. His methods were too strange. She suspected that Chuzan was going to eventually take control of the entire Black Moon Tower. The founder of the Black Moon Tower had always been a mysterious character, and his level of strength was also a complete mystery. Many superpowers were not willing to shed all pretense of cordiality with the Black Moon Tower because of this. It could be seen how powerful the Black Moon Tower was. As Chuzan's servant, Su Shaner indirectly controlled the Black Moon Tower in the southern region. She could finally let out a sigh of relief. The news of her whereabouts in the southern region would not be leaked out. At the same time, through the Black Moon Tower, she could immediately find out if the Su family had discovered her tracks and whether they had started to take action. Today, a first-level Truth Realm heretic cultivator who was nearing the end of his life barged into the Evil King's palace. He enraged the Evil King and was personally killed by the latter. Su Shaner sat next to Chuzan and read out the Black Moon Tower's information about the southern region's cultivation world. It was one of her daily tasks. She needed to pick out the most important bits of information from the Black Moon Tower and read it to Chuzan. In order to understand the situation in the southern region, the Black Moon Tower would collect information about what was happening in various places every day. Barging into the Evil King's palace was a trend amongst heretic cultivators, so such news was naturally indispensable. The people who barged into the Evil King's palace were getting stronger and stronger. Now, even the heretic cultivators in the Truth Realm were starting to emerge. The current Evil King was probably furious. He was the first Evil King to be provoked like this. He longer bore the pride and dignity of an Evil King that could not be provoked or offended. Chuzan sighed. It seemed that there were a lot of people with mental problems among the heretic cultivators. One after another, they took pride in barging into the Evil King's palace, even though such actions were suicidal. It was fine if they were cultivators who were at the end of their lifespans. After all, there were people who wanted to make a name for themselves before they died. However, there were heretic cultivators who were young and energetic who actually barged into the Evil King's palace as well. It could only be said that their evil techniques had damaged their brains. Chapter 56. Changes in the Qin royal family. In the southern region's cultivation world, all sorts of things were taking place every day. As for news regarding the Asura ancient land, Chu Zan wondered whether or not the major factions of the southern region were aware of this huge matter. Chu Zan had passed on the refining method of the communication talisman to Su Shaner, but Su Shaner had not been able to refine it. The level of the communication talisman that was occasionally refined was too low, which resulted in it being unusable. He was very helpless about this. Su Shaner did not appear to have any talent for refining artifacts, so he could only look for another person who had the ability to refine artifacts instead. Chu Zan also placed the system reward of the Lucky Mystic Realm in the small courtyard. The power of the two Lucky Mystic Realms should be able to attract those with great luck over again, right? The following days passed peacefully. In the blink of an eye, Chu Zan had been secluded in the courtyard for almost 3 years. When he reached the 2-year milestone, the system rewarded him with the Heaven Revolving Universe formation, and an extremely powerful divine ability, the Heaven Sealing Forbidden Technique. This was the first time Chu Zan had received a divine ability as a reward. After the Heaven Revolving Universe formation was set up, there would be a universe inside the formation, forming an independent space that no one outside the formation could pry into. Those who were sealed inside would also be unable to escape and were fated to be strangled to death inside. Since the Heaven Revolving Universe formation had its own space, once it was set up, it would be as if a space had been opened up. It would allow one to cultivate in seclusion within the formation. The first thing Chu Zan did was to set up the Heaven Revolving Universe formation in his small courtyard. Although the small courtyard looked no different to how it had always been, there was actually a universe hidden within it now. Su Shaner was extremely shocked by Chu Zan's methods. Such a powerful formation was unheard of even in the central region. To think that it actually formed a universe in separate space. Although there was now a hidden space in the small courtyard, Chu Zan still stayed in the courtyard. His range of activities was still limited to the courtyard. Su Shaner liked to cultivate in the universe space. On the other hand, the Heaven Sealing Forbidden Technique was a powerful divine ability that could seal the laws of heaven and earth. It was stronger than the domain power of the Emperor Realm, and its sealing power was even stronger. After all, the domain power of the Emperor Realm could not seal heaven and earth, nor could it seal its laws. With Chu Zan's current strength, he could not display the true power of the Heaven Sealing Forbidden Technique. However, with this divine ability, he could easily seal the domain power of cultivators of the same realm, rendering them immobile. He could seal the domain power of other Emperor Realm cultivators with a wave of his hand. In the blink of an eye, he had been cooped up for almost 3 years. Chu Zan was very depressed. After setting up 2 Lucky Mystic Realms, so much time had passed, yet not one person with great luck had arrived. Currently, his cultivation base had already risen to the 9th level of the Emperor Realm. During this period of time, Ren Chang, his unnamed disciple, had comprehended the yin-yang combination divine seal thanks to his guidance. The system rewarded Chu Zan with 100 years worth of cultivation for successfully refining the aura of death into life force. He was not far from the Supreme Realm now. Ren Chang still had not escaped from the fallen god cave, but it would not be long before he did. Chu Zan speculated that, when Ren Chang escaped, the system would reward him once more. Su Shaner's cultivation had risen to the 9th level of the Void Realm, and she was about to break through to the Unity Realm. Thanks to the combination of her Grand Moon Mystic Body and the Grand Moon Immortal spell technique she cultivated, she was perfectly capable of crossing realms and killing a first-level Unity Realm cultivator. After another day of seclusion, the system rewarded him with a bag of heavenly and earthly treasure seeds. Chu Zan took them out and threw them to Su Shaner. Plant the seeds in the universe space. Su Shaner took the seeds and entered the universe space. She had already become used to doing such odd jobs. She was very depressed and even doubted her own beauty for a while. Why was Chu Zan not moved by her beauty at all? She actually would not mind if Chu Zan touched her, but, in the end, Chu Zan's only request for her was to do odd jobs. Chu Zan stared at the 2 Lucky Mystic Realms for a while. Why had no fated ones appeared yet? The plan regarding the parent-child communication talisman had been delayed again and again because of this. Forget it, let's continue to wait. The next person who appeared might be even more talented than Su Shaner. In the past 2 years, Chu Yun had returned a few times. She had given Chu Zan medicinal pills and, at the same time, she had browsed through the cultivation information that Chu Zan had prepared for her. Chu Yun could already refine spirit pills, and she had already refined the Void Unity pill a few times. However, the success rate for this was relatively low, and there was still a gap in terms of quality. In 2 years, Chu Yun's cultivation had already risen to the 9th level of the Profound Realm. Chu Zan estimated that she should have broken through to the Spirit Realm by now. Her talent could be ranked second among the Chu family's younger generation. The first place still went to Chu Yuan. However, Chu Yun's alchemy talent was beyond imagination. Even the genius of the Heavenly Cauldron Mountain, a big alchemy sect in the southern region, was far inferior to Chu Yun. The person who was secretly protecting Chu Yun had been replaced with a first-level Truth Realm expert from the Black Moon Tower. Zhang Kui was an evil cultivator after all, so some situations would not be convenient for him to handle. Moreover, Chu Yun had always believed that a senior expert was secretly training her and testing her alchemy talent. Half a month ago, Chu Yun had sent someone to send a letter back. She had already left Chu County and left the Qin Kingdom to train. Chu Zan was not worried about her safety. Even if the Truth Realm expert from the Black Moon Tower failed to protect her, the Emperor-level power in Chu Yun's body would ensure her safety. The major forces in the southern region still did not have an Emperor Realm expert. The laws of heaven and earth had not been restored either, so no one could break through. In addition, there were no Emperor Realm experts from outside the southern region. The only Emperor Realm expert that could possibly do her harm was the one from the Black Moon Tower. However, given the situation in the southern region, that person's strength was probably only at the first level of the Emperor Realm. Sir, there seems to have been some changes in the Qin royal family. Su Shaner handed him a piece of information. Changes in the Qin royal family. Qin Qian's figure immediately surfaced in Chu Zan's mind. If there were changes in the Qin royal family, it would likely have something to do with her. After examining the information, he discovered that the current Qin Kingdom Emperor, who was the current head of the Qin royal family, had abdicated. It seemed that he was forced to abdicate. Currently, the Qin Kingdom was in a state where the old emperor abdicated, and a new emperor had yet to ascend to the throne. The Qin royal family was also currently without a head. The Black Moon Tower did not have specific details on what had happened. The Zhao, He, and Chu families were actually unaware about the changes going on in the Qin royal family as well. Chu Zan realized that the situation in the Qin Kingdom was about to change. Perhaps it would even be to the extent that the entire situation in the southern region would change. Small countries like the Great Zhou and Purple Moon Kingdoms might even probably be destroyed and unified. The reincarnation of the demon, the soul of the fox demon. Chu Zan muttered to himself, I wonder if you are a human or a demon in this life. In the Qin royal family's ancestral land, all of the direct descendants of the Qin royal family and the family elders were gathered. A woman stood on an altar. She had a peerless appearance, and there was a hint of viciousness hidden behind her obedient expression. Her bright eyes flickered with a demonic light. Qin Qian, she looked as obedient as ever. However, the viciousness on her face and the bewitching look in her eyes indicated that she was somehow different. In the entire ancestral land, only 2 people were standing, while the rest were prostrating themselves on the ground. One of the 2 standing was Qin Qian, who was standing on the altar, and the other was Qin Pingxia, who was standing under the altar. From today onward, I am the Empress of the Qin Kingdom and the head of the Qin family. Who opposes me? Who supports me? Qin Qian looked down at the people of the Qin royal family. The ancestral land was completely silent. Among the people of the Qin royal family, there was not a single person who opposed or supported her. The Asura ancient land will soon open. This is an opportunity for the Qin royal family to rise. Those who don't agree with me can step forward. As long as they survive one of my moves, the position of the head of the Qin royal family will belong to them. There was still no one who spoke up. Since you all support me, then from today onward, I will be in charge of both the Qin royal family and the Qin kingdom. The aura on Qin Qian's body surged forth, revealing her cultivation as a 9th-level Truth Realm cultivator. Chapter 57, The Qin Royal Family's Coup. Now, listen to my command. Everyone, provide a drop of blood essence and open the Qin Royal Family's altar. Qin Qian ordered. Qin Pingxia immediately squeezed out a drop of blood essence, which floated towards Qin Qian. The other people who were kneeling on the ground hesitated for a brief moment before squeezing out their blood essence, which also floated toward the altar. Qin Qian raised her hand and waved it. All the blood essence gathered in her palm and formed a symbol that sank into the center of the altar. Buzz! Light blossomed from the altar. A majestic phantom appeared from the altar. Even though it was just a phantom, it gave off a powerful pressure. Everyone present felt somewhat suffocated. Qin Qian prostrated herself on the ground. Qin Pingxia also prostrated herself on the ground. All of the members of the Qin royal family were shocked when they saw the majestic phantom on the altar. The altar was something that the Qin royal family had guarded for generations. It was rumored that the ancestor of the Qin royal family had left it behind. However, no one knew what the altar was used for until now. Up until now, all they knew was that cultivating around and on the altar would make it easier for one to break through bottlenecks. Their cultivation speed would be faster and their foundations would be more solid. This was also the fundamental reason why the Qin royal family had always been stronger than the other three families. Qian greets ancestor. Qin Qian knelt on the ground as the phantom of a white fox appeared behind her. She also knelt on the ground. The majestic phantom suddenly lowered its head and looked at Qian. Its eyes suddenly bloomed with light. Its spiritual will was transmitted. Qian, you are finally here. Everyone in the Qin royal family was shocked and their hearts were burning. Could it be that the Qin royal family's ancestor was still alive? It was rumored that the ancestor of the Qin royal family was extremely powerful. Ancestor, the Qin royal family has already declined and the Qin kingdom has long fallen. Qian is lacking but wants to restore the power of the Qin kingdom. Qin Qian said in a low voice. The majestic phantom raised its hand and caressed Qin Qian's head. It seemed to be caressing the phantom of the white fox. Pew! 2 rays of light shot out from the majestic phantom's eyes and entered Qin Qian's forehead. The majestic phantom gradually began to dissipate. The descendants of the Qin royal family will obey Qian and await my return. The majestic phantom disappeared and a whirlpool-like hole appeared at the center of the altar. Qin Qian stood up and her aura fluctuated. She had actually advanced to the peak of the 9th level of the Truth Realm. However, she did not break through to the Emperor Realm. She looked at the altar and said, "All of you, stand up." Only then did the members of the Qin royal family stand up and look at the woman on the altar. All of them had complicated expressions on their faces. It was not hard to guess that she had some sort of relationship with the ancestor of the Qin royal family. The inheritance of the Qin royal family was previously lost. Just now, the ancestor passed down the inheritance to continue the glory of the Qin royal family. All of you should work hard and cultivate. Qin Qian took out a blank booklet and engraved the cultivation technique on it before handing it over to Qin Pingxia. Recall all the experts of the Qin royal family from the Great Qian dynasty. The Zhao, He, and Chu families are the subjects of the Qin royal family. From today onward, the Qin country will no longer be governed by the 4 families. I will be in seclusion for a few more days. Leave the matters of the Qin royal family to my mother and a few elders. All of you may leave. Everyone from the Qin royal family left one after another. Qin Pingxia hesitated for a moment before saying, "Qian, I'm afraid that the Great Qian dynasty will not allow the experts of the Qin royal family to return." "It's fine. When I come out of seclusion, the Great Qian dynasty will have no choice but to agree." "You are going to break through to the Emperor realm?" Qin Pingxia was shocked. The southern region did not have any Emperor-level cultivators. If Qin Qian broke through, she would be the strongest expert in the southern region. It would not be impossible for the Qin royal family to unify the southern region then. "It will take some time," Qin Qian shook her head and said. After Qin Pingxia left, Qin Qian entered the passageway in the middle of the altar and arrived at a small space. She sat down cross-legged and began to consolidate her cultivation. The white fox phantom appeared and the power of her soul began to spread out. She had been reincarnated from an emperor-level demon, so it was much easier for her to recover her cultivation and break through to the emperor realm compared to the others. However, due to the incomplete laws of heaven and earth in the southern region, she was unable to break through to the emperor realm. In this special space, she had a chance to break through to the Emperor realm. However, her accumulation was currently insufficient and she was unable to break through within such a short period of time. There was only one way to increase her strength in a short time. She could use the soul of the fox demon to create the domain power of an Emperor realm expert. Even if it was just a fake domain, it would be enough to make her the strongest among the half-emperor cultivators in the southern region. Only then would she have the right to compete with the Great Qian dynasty. The Qin royal family had been in decline for far too long and would not be able to match the Great Qian Empire within a short period of time. However, as long as her own strength was sufficient, she could stabilize the situation, or maybe even tip the balance. From that point on, the Qin royal family's foundation would be activated and their strength would increase rapidly. The Zhao, He, and Chu families had all been subordinate families of the Qin royal family's ancestors, so they should also be in possession of their ancestors' foundation. However, they did not know how to activate it. Qin Qian had already decided that the Qin kingdom had to be unified, ending the situation where the four families ruled together and allowing the Qin royal family to activate the foundations of the other three families. The overall strength of the Qin kingdom would then increase by leaps and bounds within a short period of time. If the other three families did not comply and continued to insist on being independent aristocratic families, then they could not blame her for being ruthless. No one knew what had happened to the Qin royal family. Even the Black Moon Tower only knew that there had been a change in the Qin royal family. They could not find out the specific details. Chu Zan did not care about the changes happening in the Qin royal family. No matter how much it changed, it would not affect him. Currently, he was still the strongest cultivator in the southern region. At this moment, Chu Zan was looking at a piece of information regarding the Qin royal family from the Black Moon Tower. The Qin family had sent people to the Great Qian dynasty to summon the experts of the Qin royal family back. The Great Qian dynasty was the ruler of the southern kingdoms. It was also the strongest force that stood against the evil imperial court. They would not relax their control over the subordinate kingdoms. The Unity Realm experts from the subordinate kingdoms had to go to the Great Qian dynasty to await orders. They were not allowed to leave the Great Qian dynasty without permission. This was also the reason why the Chu family had existed for so long without a Unity Realm expert. Anyone who broke through to the Unity Realm had to report to the Great Qian dynasty. Otherwise, they would be suppressed by the Great Qian dynasty if they were discovered to have been hiding a Unity Realm expert. The Qin family was the royal family, so they allowed a Unity Realm expert to stay behind. The evil imperial court also restricted heretic cultivators in a similar manner, so it was very difficult to find Unity Realm heretic cultivators outside the evil imperial court. The two sides were actually concentrating their forces and fighting against each other. It would probably be difficult for the Qin royal family to summon their experts back from the Great Qian dynasty. Even if they had some valid excuses, the Great Qian dynasty would at most allow one to return. In truth, everyone knew that Unity Realm experts sent to the Great Qian dynasty would easily be used as cannon fodder in battles against the evil imperial court. However, the Great Qian dynasty was so powerful that no one dared to go against it. There's going to be a good show to watch. Chu Zan was curious where the Qin royal family had found the confidence to challenge the Great Qian dynasty. The situation of the Qin kingdom being ruled by the four families was probably about to come to an end. "Sir, I'm about to break through." Su Shan'er's aura surged. She was about to break through to the Unity Realm. "Go ahead." Chu Zan waved his hand. After Su Shan'er obtained the Grand Moon Immortal spell, she had spent quite a bit of time consolidating her foundation. Otherwise, she would have broken through to the Unity Realm long ago. One day later, Su Shan'er successfully broke through to the Unity Realm. Chu Zan was reading the report from the Black Moon Tower when the system's notification appeared. "Your maid, Su Shan'er, has broken through under your superb training and guidance. You have been rewarded with 10 years worth of cultivation." Su Shan'er had broken through, and the system had rewarded him for her cultivation increase. Chu Zan was overjoyed and immediately received the reward. After that, his strength improved yet again, but not to the point where he reached the Supreme Realm. Chu Zan was not surprised. 10 years of cultivation was in no way sufficient to break through the bottleneck. However, he had now found a new way to quickly increase his strength. Chapter 58. Great Qin's Great Empress. Neil, taking in disciples. Ren Chang, this in-name disciple, had comprehended the yin-yang combination divine seal technique of refining the aura of death as life force under his tutelage. The system had then rewarded him with a cultivation boost. Su Shan'er, his maid, had cultivated the cultivation technique he had imparted to her and received pointers from him. After she broke through to the next realm, he had also been rewarded with a cultivation boost. As such, taking in disciples and training them would allow him to reap cultivation boost rewards from the system. Chu Zan was overjoyed. He had finally found a way to increase his strength quickly. However, the requirements for taking in a disciple should not be lowered because of that. If the disciple's talent and luck was average, even if Chu Zan guided the disciple to a breakthrough, the system would probably not reward him with a cultivation boost. The disciple had to be a person with great luck. Although Ren Chang was not a person with great luck, he was a peak stage heaven realm expert. As such, Chuzan could be considered to have crossed realms to take him in as a disciple. Wait, no, Ren Cheng was able to meet him, so that in itself proved that the other party had great luck. It was clear that his luck was great. Otherwise, he would not have been trapped in the fallen god cave. How could he have learned the yin-yang combination divine seal from him and escape otherwise? Chuzan looked at the two lucky mystic realms and felt somewhat depressed. They still had not attracted any people with great luck. Should he activate the lucky secret realms and set them up somewhere else? Chuzan hesitated. Let's wait a little longer. If no fated ones appear after the 3-year mark arrives, I'll activate them. Chuzan decided to activate the lucky mystic realms if no fated ones appeared after the 3-year system reward. He now had a lot of treasures, countless cultivation techniques and secret arts. There were at least 10 emperor-level scriptures, heaven-level scriptures, divine arts, and secret arts. He would choose a powerful cultivation technique, along with some heavenly and earthly treasures, medicinal pills, emperor weapons and the like, and place them in the lucky mystic realms. If someone with great luck entered, it would not be a problem for them to rely on the harvest from the lucky mystic realm to break through to the emperor realm, or even the supreme realm. 3 days later, a piece of news shook the Qin kingdom. It also shook the entire southern region in an extremely short amount of time. Qin Qian ascended the throne and became known as the Great Qin Empress. The Qin kingdom also changed its name to the Great Qin dynasty and was no longer a vassal state of the Great Qian dynasty. In the southern region, the title of dynasty was not something that was taken lightly. An emperor of the Great Qian Empire had been the last emperor of the southern region. They had a deep foundation and a long history. How could the Qin dynasty compare to them? On the day that Qin Qian became the empress, she personally went to the Great Qian dynasty and requested them to release the Great Qin dynasty's experts. On that same day, everyone found out how powerful the Great Qin empress was. She single-handedly suppressed 10 of the Great Qian dynasty's experts and defeated the Great Qian dynasty's current emperor, shocking the entire southern region. She even brought the Qin, Zhao, He, and Chu families to the Great Qian dynasty and fought with the evil king of the evil imperial court. They used their powerful strength to heavily injure the evil king. The southern region was shaken. The Great Qin Empress became known as the one closest to the emperor realm in the southern region. In addition, she was only 25 years old. On this day, Chu Tianming's roar echoed from within the Chu family's ancestral residence. Chu Yuan, UB****, B****, unfilial grandson. Chuzan curled his lips. He had expected this scene to happen. Luckily, Chu Yuan was no longer in the Chu family's territory, or else he might have been beaten to death. He could not help but sigh. The fox demon's soul had recovered, and it was so close to the emperor realm. The situation of the 4 families ruling the Qin kingdom was about to come to an end. The Zhao, He, and Chu families' unity realm experts who returned with Qin Qian all stayed in the Qin kingdom and did not return to their families. Their attitude was self-evident. 3 days later, the Great Qin Empress decree arrived. The head of the Chu family, Chu Tianming, was instructed to enter the capital. Chu County was to be renamed as Great Qin's Southern County, with the Chu family's territory as the center. The surrounding 300 kilometers would be the Chu family's fiefdom. Everything else would be taken back by the Great Qin dynasty. It was the same for the Zhao and He families. The higher-ups of the 3 families met. No one was willing to give up the territory that had been under their control for thousands of years to the Qin royal family. However, resistance was useless. Qin Heian straightforwardly admitted that there was no room for negotiation. They would either become subordinates of the Great Qin dynasty or be expelled from the Qin kingdom. Moreover, this was because of the good relationship between their families over the generations. Otherwise, the end result would not be as simple as expulsion. Great Qin's empress is so domineering and awe-inspiring. Su Shaner looked at the report with admiration. Chuzan glanced at her and said, "Why? Do you also want to be a great empress?" "No, I just want to stay by Sir's side." Su Shaner smiled charmingly. "You have to remember that any great empress or whatnot is just an empty title. Strength is the most important thing. As long as you are strong enough, what use is a great empress? Won't you just suppress her with a single hand?" "Sir is right," Su Shaner agreed. Her greatest wish was to become strong enough to return to the central region and suppress the Su family with one hand. She would ruthlessly slap the faces of those people and kill all those who had once coveted her beauty. I have to say, this girl, or rather this old witch, is still very domineering. Chuzan looked at the information regarding Qin Qian and clicked his tongue as he sighed. Chuzan did not care about the choice of the Chu family. He did not care much about whether Chu County would be lost or not. In fact, he did not have a strong sense of belonging to the Chu family. He only cared about Chu Yun. As for Chu Yuan, he was not too bad. Although that guy nagged a little, he had been doing it for Chuzan's own good. Suddenly, Chuzan's expression became strange. Soon, a figure appeared at the entrance of the courtyard. A golden robe, a phoenix crown, and a beautiful face. Qin Qian, Great Qin's great empress. Qin Qian, what are you doing here? Chuzan looked surprised. Su Shan'er widened her eyes. The Great Qin's great empress had sneaked over here. Qin Heian glanced at Su Shan'er and frowned. She looked at Chuzan, who was lazily lying on the deck chair, and narrowed her eyes. I am the Great Qin's great empress, and I want to marry you. Su Shan'er looked shocked. Marry Chuzan? What was she thinking? Chuzan was stunned. Marry me? Yes. Qin Qian nodded and said, I am the empress. How can there be no one in my harem? You want 3 palaces and 6 courtyards? Chuzan had a strange look on his face. As expected of the reincarnation of the fox demon. She was too daring. No. Qin Qian shook her head and said, there are too few good-looking men around. I don't know where your third brother went, so you are the only one available at the moment. It's a good deal for you. Chuzan saw the obedient look on her face and the muscles on his face twitched. He touched his face and sighed, I won't deny it. I'm good-looking, but I don't want to get married. Why should I marry you? You can't refuse. Qin Qian narrowed her eyes and said, if you agree, I can make an exception and give the Chu family a bigger fiefdom. If you don't agree, I will still take you back now. Hey, Chuzan chuckled as a 7-colored divine light bloomed from his body. A majestic voice resounded, Great Qin's great empress, who gave you the courage to act so impudently in front of me? Qin Qian's expression changed drastically as a look of shock appeared on her face. Her aura erupted as she revealed her strength that was infinitely close to the Emperor realm. At the same time, she activated her false domain and a white fox phantom appeared behind her, attempting to suppress Chuzan. Kneel. Chuzan spat out softly. The truth mantra. Plop. Qin Qian knelt down. The false domain disappeared together with the white fox phantom. She had an inexplicable look of shock on her face. He had suppressed her with a single word. What kind of strength was that? Chapter 59. In this life, is she a human or a demon? Qin Qian knelt on the ground, her beautiful face pale. Her delicate and pitiful appearance no longer had a trace of her previous might as an empress. Chuzan sat on the chair and looked down at her. Light swirled in his eyes. Heavenly Secrets Origin Probing Technique. Back then, his strength was insufficient, so he was unable to fully derive Qin Qian's origin. However, he was already at the 9th level of the Emperor realm. Qin Qian, the reincarnation of an emperor demon, the soul of a fox demon, was once the great Qin Emperor's white fox demon pet. Her cultivation was at the 9th level of the Emperor realm. When she died, her soul escaped, and she was reborn into the Qin royal family's lineage through Qin Pingxia. At this moment, Chuzan understood Qin Qian's origins clearly. He did not expect that Qin Qian had actually been the great Qin Emperor's demon pet. In her previous life, her cultivation was at the 9th level of the Emperor realm. The Emperor had been a supreme realm expert, an emperor amongst emperors. From Qin Qian's previous life, her master, the great Qin Emperor, who was also the ancestor of the Qin family, was a famous expert in ancient times. However, Chuzan had never heard of such an ancient expert. He had read countless historical records about the southern region and all sorts of miscellaneous records, but there was no record of the great Qin Emperor. He continued to use the Heavenly Secrets Origin Probing Technique, after which he was able to find out the origins of Qin Qian's death. What surprised Chuzan was that Qin Qian had unexpectedly died at the start of the Battle of the Asura Ancient Land. Her soul had escaped, and she had hidden in the Qin family's ancestral land to sleep before being reborn in Qin Pingxia's stomach. From this, it could be seen that the great Qin Emperor had probably died before the start of the Battle of the Asura Ancient Land as well. Before that battle, the southern region was probably home to an incredibly powerful great Qin dynasty. Perhaps the great Qin Emperor's strength had even exceeded the supreme realm. Qin Qian trembled. She did not know why, but she felt as if Chuzan had seen through her from the inside out. It was as if every strand of hair had been captured by Chuzan's eyes. Qin Qian regretted coming here to capture Chuzan. Why did she not restrain herself? However, he was simply too good-looking. Who knew that he was actually an old monster? That's right, Qin Qian now believed that Chu Zan was an old monster that had been reincarnated, and she suspected that it was the ancestor of the Chu family that had been resurrected. In this life, are you a human or a demon? Chu Zan's dignified voice sounded. Qin Qian's body trembled, and she began to believe her own speculations. He actually knew about her previous life. I'm a human. Qin Qian said in a low voice, I'm not a demon in this life. I'm just a human. Chu Zan retracted his aura and said calmly, since you're a human, then get up. I don't dare. Qin Qian pays her respects to Sir Chu Zun. Qin Qian continued to kneel on the ground. Chu Zun. Chu Zan laughed lightly and said, I'm not an old monster, and I'm not the ancestor of the Chu family. Qin Qian was stunned. Not an old monster, not the ancestor of the Chu family. How was that possible? Was he really just a young man? Why was he so strong? Get up, you're the great Qin's empress after all. Qin Qian stood up and lowered her head, looking very obedient. It was just like the first time Chu Zan had seen her. She no longer had the majesty of the great Qin's empress. Great Qin's empress, what do you want to do now? Chu Zan pointed at the teapot, and Su Shaner immediately prepared some tea. Sit. A chair suddenly appeared in front of the tea table. Qin Qian hesitated. This chair was formed from his spiritual power. Would there be a problem if she sat on it? Thinking about it, with his strength and methods, why would he need to do such a thing? She gently sat down on the chair. Su Shaner curled her lips. You're lucky. Let me pour you some tea. After making the tea, she poured 3 cups. She knew that the tea Chu Zan drank was not simple. It could make one's spirit clear and nourish one's spirit. If one condensed one's spirit, this tea would nourish one's spirit. It was a rare treasure, even in the central region. Chu Zan drank the tea and said, drink it. This is good tea. It's good for you. Qin Qian's fox demon soul had been in a state of deep slumber until now. It was actually already very weak. Many of her memories from her previous life had become blurry due to the long period of slumber. This tea could cleanse her soul and help it recover. Qin Qian took a small sip. She only felt a sweet fragrance lingering around before a comfortable sensation enveloped her soul. Some vague and hazy memories suddenly became clearer. Her eyes lit up as she realized that this tea was not simple. She finished the tea in one gulp and slightly furrowed her eyebrows as she savored it. After Qin Qian finished savoring it, Chu Zan asked, what happened to the Asura ancient land? The southern region became barren, the ley lines collapsed, and the laws of heaven and earth were damaged. This was all caused by the war with the demons back then. Chu Zan had very limited knowledge about this war. He could not find any more records about this war from the Black Moon Tower. Now that Qin Qian was here, he naturally had to take this opportunity to find out more about this war with the demons. The Asura ancient land was the battlefield in which this war had taken place. The reason he gave Qin Qian such a precious cup of tea was to help her recall the memories of her past life, especially the details about the war. Qin Qian remained silent for a while before recalling the memories of her past life and saying, actually, I'm not too sure either. Afraid that Chu Zan would misunderstand her and believe that she was hiding information from him, she hurriedly added, I'm just a demon pet, so I don't really know that much. Tell me what you know. Chu Zan leaned back in his chair and resumed his lazy demeanor. I vaguely remember that before the war with the demons, Qin Zun was very angry and said, rebellion, human rebellion. Must be killed. Later on, Qin Zun left with an expert to do something. In Qin Qian's previous life, she had been a little white fox, a demon pet that the great Qin Emperor had loved very much, and she had often followed him around by his side. However, that time, Qin Qian had been left in the Qin family's ancestral land, and he had prepared some backup plans for Qin Qian, as well as the method to open the altar in the Qin family's ancestral land. As the demons invaded, the human experts resisted, but the great Qin Emperor did not appear. Before the war with the demons, the great Qin Emperor and the other experts had already fallen. The life tablets that had been left in the great Qin dynasty had already been shattered. Before the demons invaded, the great Qin Empire had already been thrown into turmoil, and the new great Qin Emperor was unable to stabilize the situation. As the demons invaded, the great Qin Empire was soon destroyed. The descendants of the great Qin Emperor were almost all killed, but Qin Qian protected some of the Qin family's descendants and hid them in the ancestral land. She also died fighting against a demon expert. Luckily, the great Qin Emperor prepared a backup plan for her, allowing her to escape and hide in the Qin family's ancestral land to sleep. Back then, the demon invasion had happened too suddenly, which caught the humans off guard. It seems that some humans rebelled and lured the demons here. Qin Qian continued, the great Qin Emperor probably died trying to stop the humans from rebelling and luring the demons here. What was the strength of the Qin kingdom back then? Chu Zan felt that it was not strange for history to have been lost after the war between the demons. There was only one country in the southern region, which was the Great Qin dynasty. Qin Qian said proudly. Chu Zan was quite surprised. The ancient Great Qin dynasty had unified the southern region. Such a powerful empire had completely disappeared from the historical records. It was likely that it had been erased by someone. The person who had erased this part of the Great Qin dynasty's history was definitely one of the top factions in the southern region. The first suspect that Chu Zan thought of was the Great Qian dynasty, which had existed for a long time. Chapter 60. The southern region's waters are indeed quite deep. So, you want to restore the Great Qin dynasty's past glory? This was the first time Chu Zan felt that Qin Qian's ambition was quite great. She actually had the intention of unifying the southern region. However, with her strength, how could she accomplish it? Even if she recovered her past life's strength, she probably would not be able to do it. Some people probably did not want to see the Great Qin dynasty rise up once again and unify the southern region. No, I'm weak, so how can I unify the southern region? Qin Qian said guiltily. What was Qin Zun's level of strength? Chu Zan felt that if the other party managed to unify the southern region, he probably would not have been able to accomplish such a feat if he had not reached the heaven realm, right? I'm not sure, Qin Qian shook her head and said. She was afraid that Chu Zan would not believe her, so she hurriedly added, I'm just a pet, so how would I know Master's strength? He had asked all the questions that she should have. Qin Qian was a human being and not a demon, so there was no need to kill her. ... Chu Zan waved his hand and said, you can go now. Do what you need to do. Just don't disturb me. Also, don't tell anyone about me. Yes. Qin Qian stood up in a hurry. She twisted her skirt with both hands and asked in a low voice, can I still come here to take a look? The corners of Chu Zan's mouth twitched as he recalled Qin Qian's preference for good-looking men. Was she FC King coming here to see him? Go away. Chu Zan waved his hand. Qin Qian narrowed her eyes. Since Chu Zan did not reply, she took his silence as a tacit agreement. Yes, I'll take my leave now. Qin Qian respectfully bowed before leaving the courtyard. Chu Zan drank a cup of tea and narrowed his eyes. Since the Great Qin Emperor had a backup plan, perhaps he was not completely dead and was simply waiting for an opportunity to return. Chu Zan did not believe that an expert who could unify the southern region and establish a dynasty would die so easily. Unless of course the enemy he faced was far beyond his imagination. Qin Qian had reincarnated into the Qin family, so she was probably one of those backup plans. Chu Zan picked up his communication talisman and contacted Bao Hongyan. Search for information on the ancient Great Qin Emperor of the southern region. Yes, my lord, Bao Hongyan said respectfully. Out of the 3 gold-level tower lords, Chu Zan had decided to focus on nurturing Bao Hongyan and helping her become a 1-star tower lord. The other 2 tower lords were less talented than Bao Hongyan. More importantly, those 2 were rough men, and were nowhere close to being as good-looking as Bao Hongyan. 3 days later, Bao Hongyan sent him some information about the Great Qin Emperor. Even with her status as a gold-level tower lord, she could not gather much information. There was no introduction about the Great Qin Emperor's strength. There were only a few simple lines describing the Great Qin Emperor. He was the only emperor in all of the southern region's history to unify the southern region and suppress all of the sects and factions. Even though it was only a few lines, one could tell how powerful the Great Qin Emperor was from that description. In the entire history of the southern region, there had only been one person who unified the southern region, suppressed all of the sects and factions, and established the Great Qin dynasty. There was no need to doubt his strength. Chu Zan suspected that the ancient battle with the demons was probably a conspiracy to destroy the Great Qin dynasty. Qin Qian had said that the humans had rebelled and lured the demons into invading, which caught the human experts unprepared. This was most likely the case. As for whether the human experts were truly unprepared, that was still a matter that was up for debate. At the very least, some people had planned this, which meant that those people were not truly unprepared. Only those who had not betrayed the human race were truly unprepared. Even though the Great Qin Emperor was called an emperor, his strength far surpassed that of an emperor. Without the strength of a Heaven Realm cultivator, how could he unify the southern region? Regardless of whether the Great Qin Emperor was dead or not, as long as the latter did not disturb him, Chu Zan did not care about his plans. Even if the man wanted to unify the southern region again, he did not care. With the opening of the Asura ancient land, the plans of various factions would gradually surface. From the looks of it, the waters in the southern region indeed ran a little deep. Chu Zan did not panic. The Asura ancient land had not opened yet and, by the time it did, his strength would be at least at the Heaven Realm. Originally, the Zhao, He, and Chu families were to become subordinates of the Qin kingdom and hand over their territories to accept the Qin royal family's dominion. Unexpectedly, Qin Qian suddenly changed her mind. The Zhao and He families handed over their territories and accepted their new fiefs. However, the Great Qin dynasty did not take back Chu County, and did not call the Chu family their subjects. They even let the Unity Realm experts that they had brought back from the Great Qian dynasty return to Chu County. Qin Qian's sudden change stunned the Chu family. The Zhao and He families were stunned. Why did she treat the Chu family so well? No, it didn't seem like she was treating the Chu family well. Instead, she was excluding the Chu family from the core of the state of Qin. To outsiders, Qin Qian's actions seemed to imply that she was dissatisfied with the Chu family. She had excluded the Chu family from the core of the Qin kingdom, and she did not even acknowledge that the Chu family belonged to the Great Qin dynasty. However, for the sake of their family's generations of friendship, she left Chu County to the Chu family. Whether this was good or bad for the Chu family, that remained to be seen. It was probably a good thing that they did not have to hand over the territory that they had governed for thousands of years and did not have to bow down to the Qin royal family. However, everyone could see Qin Qian's ambition, so the fact that the Chu family had been unable to integrate into the core of the Qin kingdom and had been pushed aside by the Qin family meant that they could only hide in Chu County and would not be able to develop further. In fact, the four great families that were originally very close to each other would gradually keep their distance from the Chu family and gradually become estranged. Was it due to the matter of Chu Yuan cancelling the marriage contract, which caused Qin Qian to become dissatisfied? In the ancestral residence, Chu Tianming's roar could be heard again. The Chu family was now in a very awkward situation. Although Qin Qian did not show intention of ostracizing the Chu family was unable to participate in the affairs of the Great Qin dynasty, so, over time, they would naturally be ostracized. The heart of an emperor was difficult to fathom. This was even truer for an empress. It was not easy to figure out a woman's thoughts. Find and bring that bastard Chu Yuan back to me. Chu Tianming roared. He had to bring Chu Yuan back and ask him to apologize to Qin Qian. The Chu family was currently in an extremely awkward situation. They had lost their alliance with the other three families. Once they encountered a strong enemy, they had nowhere to seek help from. In the past, when they encountered a strong enemy, they could still ask the Great Qian Empire for help. Now, the Great Qin dynasty had fallen out with the Great Qian dynasty. The Chu family had once been one of the three great aristocratic families of the Qin kingdom. They had been on the same side as the Qin royal family. In their current predicament, they could not seek help from the Qin royal family. The Great Qian dynasty would not come to their aid either. It could be said that the Chu family was currently isolated by the rest of the southern region. There were only 5 Unity Realm warriors who had returned from the Great Qian dynasty. The strongest one was only at the 6th level of the Unity Realm. There were not even any Truth Realm experts. The seniors who had broken through to the Unity Realm and went to the Great Qian dynasty had all died and had been treated as cannon fodder. It was already a good result that 5 of them had returned alive. Even if they included the family elders who had secretly broken through a while ago, the Chu family was still very weak. Apart from the Unity Realm elders who were in charge of the ancestral residence, the Unity Realm elders who had just broken through had all gone to various other places in Chu County. Without the help of the Unity Realm elders, Chu County's situation felt very precarious. Chu Tianming's expression was very ugly. He had to break through to the Unity Realm as soon as possible. The Chu family commissioned the Black Moon Tower to capture Chu Yuan.